And I really think they are more concerned with bringing back their own guys. They've already done it with Troy Apke. They already done it, with several other guys that, Charles Leno Jr., for an example. I think they're more interested in bringing back Bobby McCain and J.D. McKissic and some of these guys that have expiring deals. But as Martin Mayhew told us, we're going to let those guys test free agency. We're going to let those guys go out there. They know where we stand. They know that we want them back. And if they want to act in good faith, they go out on the market, they go get themselves essentially a preliminary offer from a team, almost to an extent an offer sheet, if you will, okay, as if we had the right of first refusal, but we don't. These guys are unrestricted free agents. They're not restricted in any way, shape, or form. But you go out there, and if you really want to be back in Washington, you'll go out, and in the case of a J.D. McKissic, he goes out, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm just throwing this is just random. This is not an actual thing. This is just a fictitious scenario that I've made up that I'm for the purpose of this discussion. He goes to Jacksonville, and the Jaguars say, "Hey, we'll give you a 3-year, $16 million deal." Okay, so you're essentially saying $5.3 million per is what that essentially amounts to. And J.D. McKissic says, "Hey, that's good money right there for me." And he takes that deal and he walks it back to Washington and says, "Hey, this is what Jacksonville said they would do. Can you guys match this or beat it? If not, I'm going to take the deal with Jacksonville." That's essentially what they're hoping these guys do, is act in good faith, where they go out, get a deal, an offer, and then they bring it back to Washington and say, "Hey, this is what's on the table right now. Does this sound like something that you're willing to do? If not, I'm just going to go ahead and sign that deal." So just because we're not active right now doesn't mean we're not looking, and we're not looking to shop. Who else could it be? For me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the Command Post. You know what it is. Post up and take command. I, of course, am your Commander-in-Chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Go ahead, take your post. We got a lot to discuss. Happy New Year! It's the start of the new league year. Happy New Year to all of you out there. What a busy day. Busy day for the Washington Commanders. Lots of guys going, a couple of guys staying, a couple of guys they've got their eyes set on. I think we'll discuss all of those things and then some. A lot of you, I want to start today's show with J.D. McKissic news, him coming back to Washington. You just heard an excerpt from a video that I did a couple of days ago, the start of the tampering period, which was Monday. So a couple of days ago, I talked about good faith and how Martin Mayhew essentially, without actually using the term good faith, actually, pretty much said, we're going to have these players hopefully act in good faith, essentially allowing them to test free agency, see what's out there. Okay, we're not going to offer them anything right off the bat. They'll go out, they'll see what's out there in the market. Then when they get that offer, they'll bring it back to us and we'll decide if we want to match it or not. So I told you guys yesterday that I felt like Washington might have pissed J.D. McKissic off, and that wasn't the case. That's what I thought. But I said, I don't think they actually offered him anything. He felt slighted by it. And look, at the end of the day, it's a business. He understands that. But still, this is where he wanted to be. He's got a lot of friends here. I talked about his impact in the locker room and how he had become one of the favorites of not just the players, but also the staff. He was a joy to be around. He was a guy that kept the locker room lighthearted. And also, he was a key contributor for this football team on the field. The last 2 years, you could argue he's been the most instrumental offensive player for this team. We've talked about this. Last year, I was very straight to the point with my feelings about J.D. McKissic. It was very poignant. I said, when J.D. McKissic is involved in this offense, we're a tough team to beat. The offense flows a lot better. We're a much better third down conversion offense, and we score more points when J.D. McKissic is involved in the game plan. When we don't get the ball to J.D. McKissic, we struggle on third downs. We don't score as many points, and we look like a pedestrian NFL offensive unit. So it's, to me, not rocket science. When J.D. McKissic got hurt at the end of the Seahawks game, our offense, which wasn't great, already to begin with, kind of went downhill from that point. We struggled. And to me, it's not a coincidence. Now, I talked about J.D. McKissic. If they were going to move on from him, I was okay with that as long as they replaced his production, replaced what he brought to the table. But if they weren't going to do that, then I was going to have a problem. Well, they never intended for J.D. McKissic to get away. And I told you guys also, I was shocked that he would leave for $7 million, that we couldn't match $7 million. That was a little bit striking to me. I was shocked that 2 years, $7 million got it done. And we didn't say, hey, JD, don't sign that. We'll give you $7 million over 2 years. We can do that. I was shocked. It'd be one thing if he went out there, got a 2-year, $14 million deal, and they looked at the Bills and said, hey, you can have him for $14 million over 2 years. We can't touch that. But $7 million over 2 years, $3.5 million per year, you can't match that for a guy that has been arguably your most productive player outside of Terry McLaurin on the offensive side of the football the last 2 years. That's hard for me to stomach. Antonio Gibson has also been extremely productive over the last 2 years, but McKissic's been right up there when you're talking about the most reliable and productive players over the last 2 years for this offense. So I found that hard to believe, and now it all makes sense. J.D. McKissic was so to me, this is a failure to communicate. And we're going to talk about failure to communicate with this organization a little bit later on, because Matt Ioannidis was cut today, and his agent and Matt Ioannidis, obviously, and apparently, we're blindsided by this news. So we'll talk about the miscommunication that happened there between Rob Rogers and Matt Ioannidis' agent. And now this is what I think is also a lack of communication, where I don't think the team addressed this with J.D. McKissic clearly, and concisely. Hey, look, we want you back, okay? Make no mistake about it. What we're going to do is allow you to go out there and see what is out there for you, but don't sign anything. Bring that back to us, and we'll let you know if we want to match that or not. Again, acting in good faith. I don't think they actually conveyed that message to J.D. McKissic. So he thought, hey, they don't want me. They didn't offer me anything. They already re-signed Troy Apke. They already signed Charles Leno Jr. They already signed Bobby McCain, but they haven't signed me. Clearly, they don't want me. So I'll sign with Buffalo. They've got an offer on the table. Nobody else does. Washington clearly doesn't. I'll just sign with the Bills. And luckily enough, this was the tampering period, and free agency hadn't actually begun yet, because he might have actually signed on the dotted line, and we wouldn't have had this change of heart. But he hadn't signed on the dotted line because it was the tampering period, and then he found out, word got back to Washington, 2 years, $7 million. JD, what the hell, bro? We pay you 2 years, $7 million. And he's like, I didn't know that. No one told me. No one said to me, hey, we want you back. Go out there and see what's available, and then bring it back to us, and we'll let you know if we want to match. That was never conveyed to me, so I thought you didn't want me. Miscommunication. This is a problem, okay? The good teams don't have these types of hangups, generally speaking. If you want a guy, don't bullshit around. And so to me, that's not my way of doing business. What it says to me is Washington was unsure of what the value in market was for J.D. McKissic. So they didn't want to overpay for a guy that they truly valued. They just didn't know what they valued him at. So instead of overpaying for J.D. McKissic and offering a 2-year, $10 million deal, which clearly he wasn't getting from Buffalo, they said, we're going to wait and let someone else set the market, and then we'll decide if we want to match it or not. To me, that's bullshit. You value me at what you think you value me at. I can tell you if that's enough for me or not. If it's not, then we can go back and forth and maybe find a happy medium that fits both of our needs, or I can go out on the market. But to me, that's a lazy way of doing business. Okay, you go out there, find what someone else is willing to pay you, and then we'll tell you if we're going to match. To me, you don't know how to value me. That's what that essentially says. Make him an offer. Okay, no, the worst he can say is no. He might feel disrespected. That's what negotiations is all about. You don't start with the offer that you think is going to get the deal done. You start with something much lower if you're the team, and you hope that they say yes. That agent isn't going to allow his client to sign for anything less than what they think their client is worth. So trust me, you can throw out your lowball offer. That agent is going to say, man, get that shit out of here, man. Are you serious? When you're serious, you give us a call. Or they'll come back and say, okay, that number's cute, but this is more along the lines of what we were thinking. And then they slide their offer over there. And then Washington goes, oh, wait a minute. That's a lot higher than we thought. Because you don't expect them to say yes to your first offer either. And then you meet somewhere in the middle. Either way, I said all of that to say this. J.D. McKissic wanted to be here, okay? We wanted him here. There was a mutual interest between the two parties. We thought that all along. Washington, I don't think, communicated that well enough to J.D. McKissic, so he was prepared to sign with the Buffalo Bills. Word got back to Washington that J.D. McKissic didn't even know that Washington wanted him back and that they were willing to match. And so J.D. says, oh, I didn't know you were going to match that deal. I want to come back to Washington. I told you guys the very first statement I made on Monday. I said, it's everything right now is tentative. Okay, nothing is etched in stone. All of this is being done during the tampering period. So nothing is official. Okay, guys can change their minds. It's rare. And I talked about Anthony Barr, but I said guys change their minds. Frank Gore did it. Now we're seeing it again here with J.D. McKissic. So we benefited from this tampering period of things not being official and J.D. McKissic wanting to return to Washington. To me, that takes one of the needs off the board. I still want to do something at running back, but it's not as dire a need now. You lose J.D. McKissic and you have to do something at running back. You bring him back and now you don't have to do anything at running back. So a lot of you were upset about J.D. McKissic being released or allowed to walk away in free agency. He's now back. Hopefully you feel a lot better. I feel good just knowing that Washington didn't let him leave for $7 million. To me, that if they didn't want him back, that's one thing. But if you wanted him back and you let him leave for $7 million, I have a problem with that, because even though we're strapped for cash, you can afford $7 million over 2 years. Okay. So I'm glad that they were able to rectify that situation. I know a lot of people saying, well, Carson Wentz doesn't check the football down, so it doesn't matter. J.D. McKissic's not going to be utilized properly in this offense. I'll take my chances with J.D. McKissic being on this team than J.D. McKissic not being on this team. In any event, good to have J.D. back. We welcome him with open arms. And then you get to the rest of the news that came down today. So that was a bombshell, because we thought we lost J.D. McKissic. So to get him back was awesome. Matt Ioannidis being released, didn't see it coming, but I told you guys, when you guys asked me, hey, how can we get to some more bread? Hey, how can we get to the money? Go get the money. Go get the money. Go get the money. Go get the money. I said, well, there are a couple of guys you can go to. Matt Ioannidis was one of the names I mentioned. Now, I didn't expect him to release him. I thought there may be a restructure in there somewhere. I mean, he was making $7-8 million as a rotational depth defensive tackle. That's a lot of money for a backup tackle in this league, defensive tackle. So, yeah, I thought there was a restructure coming. I did not expect a flat-out release of Matt Ioannidis. So there was another miscommunication. Here we go again with this organization and miscommunication. So apparently our cap guy, Rob Rogers, who came from Carolina with Ron Rivera, who handles all the money, in the numbers, he told Matt Ioannidis' agent, his representative, your guy's safe. This was 2 weeks ago. So when I heard it was 2 weeks ago, I said, well, guy, I don't know if you've been under a rock, but clearly things have changed. Ask Landon Collins. Things have changed since the happenings of last week, which was the Carson Wentz trade. Things have changed. Nothing's the same. If you were told something 2 weeks ago, you scrap that now because of what we've done with Carson Wentz in taking on his $28 million of salary this year. Everything's changed. It left us with a paltry $5 million of cap space. Okay. So anything you were told prior to that trade, go ahead and nix that. Cancel it. It's dead. All right. That said, it's not the agent's job to reach out to the team and say, hey, we still good? It's the team's job to then reach out to the agent and say, hey, I know what we told you 2 weeks ago. Shit's changed, okay? Situations changed on us. We ain't got the money we thought we were going to have. So here's the deal. Either your guy's going to have to take a pay cut or we're going to have to release him. If you tell the agent that, he can then tell his client, and his client can then make the decision whether he wants to take the pay cut or if he says, hey, just tell him to go ahead and release me. And then they can start working the phones to figure out where his next paycheck is going to come from. They didn't do that. Washington never reached back out to the agent and said, hey, shit's changed. Your guy was safe 2 weeks ago. That's not the case now. We going to everybody that we can go to get some bread back. Your guy's kind of holding $7 million hostage, 6.9 to be exact, really 6.8 and some change. It's 6.9. Let's call it 7. We like to deal with round numbers here. $7 million your guy's holding hostage this year. We can save $7 million in the cap if we get rid of him. So we're going to move on from your boy. Sorry about the late notice, but it's still money out there. Y'all good. So his agent was not too pleased with that news because, again, you see all this money changing hands in the first couple of days of the tampering period, and you're like, hey, my boy could have been in there already. He could have grabbed him a 3-year, $24 million deal already instead of waiting now, and he may only be able to get a 2-year, $14 million deal. So he's like, hey, y'all letting some of this bread dry up. Jacksonville was handing out bread to everybody. My guy could have been in a line with his soup, waiting for some bread to go in his soup, and instead, he's coming to the party late. Jacksonville's like, hey, all our bread gone already. Then you got to get in somebody else's line. So miscommunication. At the end of the day, I love Matt Ioannidis, love what he did here as a fifth, sixth round pick. Not much was expected, but boy, did he give us a ton. But the injury, he was never the same after that injury. If you ask me who I was the most disappointed in last season, I tell you it was Chase Young. You asked me who I was the second most disappointed in, I tell you it was Matt Ioannidis. How many times did we sit here in the offseason talking about, and don't forget, Matt Ioannidis is coming back. He might be our best interior pass rusher. The guy was invisible last season. So he was going into the last year of his deal. They tried to trade him. Because he was going into the last year of his deal, nobody wanted to give Washington any compensation for him, so they had to release him. So Matt Ioannidis frees up $7 million under the cap. With that move, they weren't done. DeShazer Everett, we talked about this already in passing several times, but he's done. His career's done. He's trying to stay out of prison at this point. They released DeShazer Everett officially today. That frees up another $2 million worth of cap space. But the big bombshell of the day, aside from J.D. McKissic coming back, was Eric Flowers being moved on from. So we've already got one starting guard out of the mix, with Brandon Sheriff moving on to Jacksonville. We didn't anticipate having yet another guard being shown the door in Eric Flowers, who was let go, and that essentially freed up $10 million, okay? And Washington tried to work something out with him on a restructure to extend him, and they couldn't come to terms on an agreement, and thus they just said, all right, we got to put a plug, bro. We ran out of time. If we had more time to discuss this, maybe we could have worked something out, but we running out of time. So they pulled the plug on Eric Flowers. He's now allowed to test free agency. I doubt that he comes back. You never know with these situations. You cut a guy because the numbers didn't make sense. You let that guy go out there. He realizes, man, the grass is not as green out here as I thought, man. It's a lot of yellow. It's a lot of patches out here. Maybe I need to take my ass back to Washington. That could happen more likely than not, especially if you're in your feelings. Okay, if you're pissed off and you're upset about being released, you don't want to go back. Your pride and your ego start to kick in, and you're like, hell no, I'll play for less over here than to go back there. So more likely than not, Eric Flowers is gone, and now you've got 2 holes on the offensive line at the guard position. I think they're going to fill one of those vacancies with Sadiq Charles. They may fill the other with Wes Schweitzer as of right now. But again, I still think, and I said this before, we thought we were only going to have one hole on the offensive line. I said we need to address the depth on the offensive line, specifically at guard. Still don't know what's going to happen with Cornelius Lucas in our swing tackle situation, but at the end of the day, we needed to address the depth on the offensive line. Well, we definitely have to do something now if there's no more Eric Flowers, and by all accounts, he's gone not to return. And so that frees up $10 million there. But at what cost? Now you have another hole on your offensive line. Landon Collins, we got some more news on him today. So we already knew he was going to be released. He was the first guy that ended up being a casualty of the Carson Wentz trade. They went to him. Just to recap, they went to him initially before the Wentz trade, asked him to take a pay cut. He agreed. They trade for Wentz. Now they need even more space. They go to Landon Collins once again and ask him to take a snip. He says, hell no, already did it once, not doing it again. So they have to release him. So what they ultimately did was they designated him a post-June 1 cut. And what that essentially does is that will save Washington. Remember, cutting Landon Collins was going to save Washington somewhere in the ballpark of $7 million, like 6 and some change, right? So cutting Landon Collins right now, we just cut him right now, it saved us let's call it $6.5 million. All right. Cutting him in post-June 1, which is what they designated him as, will save the team over $11 million. So there's a big cap savings there if you just designate him a post-June 1 cut. And that's exactly what they decided to do today. So that'll save them an additional $5 million on top of the 6 they were already going to save by cutting Landon Collins. So he's already gone, right? He can go sign with another team, but that money isn't freed up until post-June 1. So we don't actually get the benefit of that $11 million until it's off the books, and it doesn't come off the books until after June the 1st. So you can't actually go out and play with that money. You know it's coming, all right? It's like Allen Iverson signing that deal with Reebok that they had all this money saved for him until he turned 50 years old. He knows it's there and it's coming. He can't touch it until he turns 50. We know that money's there. It's coming. That $11 million of release, it's coming. We just can't touch it until June 1. So Landon Collins post-June 1 designation on the cut. So that helps the cap. So in just 3 moves, cutting Ioannidis, Flowers, and DeShazer Everett, the team saved $19 million roughly today, almost $20 million of cap space. You throw in the Landon Collins situation, and again, that'll be $11 million down the road. That's $31 million that they freed up. But again, the 11, you don't really want to count that right now because you won't see that money and you won't be able to have access to it till down the road. But $20 million they freed up today. Now, remember, they've still been spending all the while saving, okay? So they spent some money on Bobby McCain, 5.5 on Bobby McCain on that $11 million deal that they signed him to. They spent 3.5 on J.D. McKissick on that 2-year, $7 million deal. They spent another 2 on Cam Sims. I'm going to talk about his return here in a second. They spent an additional $2 million on him to have him back for the upcoming season. And they also spent money on, I'm missing one more, Joey Sly. He's a sly guy. Doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo. Sly guy. He's a sly guy. Doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo. He's back. Like cook crack, they put a tender on him. Nobody's going to come after your kicker when you put a tender on him. So he's a restricted free agent. They put a tender on him of $2.4 million. No one's going to touch him. Okay. So he's essentially back in the fold is Joey Sly. So Washington brings back Cam Sims. I told you that they were interested in bringing back Sims, McCain, and McKissick. They brought all 3 of those guys back. The thing that worries me here, and I told you guys this when we talked about a month ago, I said, the thing that scares me is that Ron Rivera keeps talking about how close, not necessarily Bruce Allen style, how close this team is, but how good this roster is. He was on a campaign tour this offseason because he was trying to convince teams that had quarterbacks that were going to be available that, hey, Russell Wilson, you want to come to Washington? We got a lot of shit, man. Aaron Rodgers, you can win big here. Deshaun Watson, I'm telling you, it's not as bad as you think. And so I said, look, he's out here campaigning and try to get one of these guys to buy in. I get it. As long as he knows better behind closed doors, I'm good. As long as they understand there's work to be done, I'm good. But I said, the thing that scares me is I think Ron actually believes what he's saying. Like he's not trying to sell everyone else a dream. I think he literally believes that this roster, if healthy, is good enough to do damage. And they don't need to do that much stuff to it. They don't need to do too much tinkering to it. Just bring everybody back, add a couple of pieces via the draft, maybe 1 or 2 pieces here via free agency, and we'll be ready to go. And I'm like, that's not how I see this thing, Ron. I hope you understand that this roster needs more work than what you're leading on. I said the one thing that scares me, and again, there's plenty of time left. Free agency literally just started today. Like the official start of the new league year is today. So I don't want to panic. I don't want you to panic. However, this smells, this reeks, this tastes, this feels like a run it back situation. Okay. Bring back Bobby McCain, bring back Troy Apke, bring back Charles Leno Jr., bring back JD McKissick, bring back Cam Sims. Let's just bring the party back. Let's bring everybody back and let's run it back as if we won the division last year at 10-7. I don't think they're going to do anything at receiver now. This is what I've been trying to explain to you. If they bring Cam Sims back, right? And really I think what will tip the balance of the scales is if they bring DeAndre Carter back. Because if they bring him back, then there's really no reason to do anything at receiver. Okay. I truly don't think they're going to do anything now because now you've got Terry McLaurin, you've got Curtis Samuel, you've got De'Ami Brown, you've got Dax Milne. Now you've got Cam Sims. That's 5 receivers. If you bring back DeAndre Carter, which they have every reason to bring him back. I actually want them to bring DeAndre Carter back. They bring him back. That's 6 receivers. What are we doing at this point? I mean, we know Dax Milne is a part of their plan because they brought him in to replace Adam Humphries. Like that's exactly why they had Adam Humphries here last year to groom Dax Milne to show him how how being a slot receiver works in this league, how to work it inside. So Dax Milne is a part of this moving forward. So when I look at the receiver position, if you've already got 5 right now and they bring back DeAndre Carter, that's 6. Do you really need to draft another receiver? Now I get it. Cam Sims on a 1-year deal. He's not guaranteed anything, right? You could draft a guy, and I think they still will have that in the back of their mind. If a guy that we love is sitting there at one of our selections, we'll take him. But I don't think it's on their to-do list necessarily at the top where we thought it was, quarterback, linebacker, and then we start talking about receivers, and DBs. I don't think it's as high anymore with Cam Sims coming back. So it's a really interesting situation, one that I'm a little nervous about because this is what I was concerned about, that they just run it back and they feel like, well, we got a better quarterback. So if we just bring back all of our receivers, we should be fine. If everybody's healthy, I said this before, I'll say it again. And now we have $10 million. So just to give you an update, we started this process with $5 million after the Carson Wentz trade. We started this process with $5 million. We've netted $5 million. We now sit at around roughly $10 million worth of cap space. After all the deductions from, the likes of Bobby McCain, JD McKissick, Joey Sly, and Cam Sims, you take those deductions off from the savings that we gained, with the moves done today, Ioannidis and Flowers and who am I missing? DeShazer Everett. You subtract that from what you add the $5 million to the additions that we had by the subtraction of all those guys, the $19 million that we freed up, then you subtract the totals of the guys that we re-signed, and you end up with roughly around $10 million. So we sit at around $10 million worth of cap space, which is plenty to do whatever it is we need to do. So again, I want to see what's going to happen. We're not going to be active in the infant stages of free agency. I've said this already. I expect us to, go out there and sign a guy or two. I don't think we're going to just sit on our hands. I'll be interested to see what they decide to do and at what positions do they decide to pick off a guy here or there. Because again, we don't have a ton of draft capital. Now, I did learn something that I did not know. I don't know if you guys saw the actual official parameters of that Carson Wentz trade with the Indianapolis Colts. But what I was not privy to, and you may have already known this, I didn't know this. So, of course, we know about the swaps for the twos, okay, the swapping of the second-round picks. We go from the 42nd pick in the draft to the 47th, all right? We know we give up the third rounder next year that could turn into a second rounder. We know we give up the third rounder this year, okay, that, is already gone. But what I didn't know is that we also, in addition to the swapping of the two, we get an additional 7th this year. I did not know that. So it does, again, it's a 7th round pick. But you know what? Cam Curl was a 7th round pick. So I don't shit on 7th rounders anymore. All right, Dax Mill may turn out to be a stud for us. He was a 7th round pick. So I'm not going to bat it. I'm not going to just dismiss a 7th rounder as if it doesn't mean anything. The more picks, the merrier. And we talked about this potentially being the deepest draft in NFL history. If that's true, then you should be able to find a good player in the 7th round. So we'll see what happens, but it's good to know that we did pick up an additional pick, albeit a 7th rounder. Still more ammunition, another dart to throw at the dartboard to see if it sticks. So I did not know that that extra 7th was in there for us. That is good to know, because you lose a 3rd. I just want as many picks as we can possibly get. You know, that could turn out to be a backup tackle or backup guard in the 7th round. That could turn out to be a wide receiver in the 7th round or a linebacker or something like that. You just never know what it turns out to be. So did learn that about the Wentz trade. Speaking of Carson Wentz, his introductory press conference is scheduled for tomorrow. So that's something that I think we'll all have our eyes on. I'll definitely have some react to that on the show tomorrow night for Washington or the Command Post Live tomorrow night. So I think we'll all have our ears tuned in for that tomorrow as he makes his debut as a member of the Commanders. So a lot happened today. Wow. You know, a lot of releases, trade official. J.D. McKissic is back in the fold after we thought we lost him. Joey Sly is back in the mix. So is Cam Sims. So this team doing the thing that I thought they would do, but they're also scaring me at the same time because they're not doing anything new. So we'll see what happens. But what a day. What a day. What a day. And it's not done. You know, anything could happen. If I'm watching it, and tomorrow night, what I will have for you guys is a list of the top 7 free agents that are going to be available that I think we should go after. Now, that list obviously subject to change because these guys, I could literally make the list, and as I'm making the list, these guys could get signed. So it'll be an ever-changing list, but hopefully when I get to you tomorrow night, that list will still be of 7 players that I think can help this football team. And again, we're not going to sign all 7 of them. I'll put them in numerical order of importance, you know, that I think we should go out and get. And I think we need to sign 1 or 2 guys because, as I mentioned, you can't fix everything in one offseason. I'm aware of this. But I think you'd be naive to think that you're going to fix everything via the draft if you're Washington. You have to understand some of the limitations of this roster and try to fix some of those things in free agency. So I think there are a couple of positions that does offer you value via free agency that I think you should take a long, hard look at if you're Washington. And we'll see if they do that or not. We'll see if they do that or not. Let's get to some of your comments, though, and see how you guys feel about where we sit, how the first day of free agency went. And, you know, I know a lot of you are excited J.D. McKissic is back. So am I. I mean, I wasn't bummed that he was gone, but I was shocked that they didn't match $7 million over 2 years. Like, that was the part that just didn't make any sense to me. But it's because I think there was a miscommunication. And I said it, I played that excerpt at the top of the show where I think they expected J.D. McKissic to act in good faith. Hey, go out there, get a deal, bring it back to us. He didn't complete the second part of that. And I think he didn't complete the second part of that, of bringing the deal back to Washington, because he didn't think they wanted him. So they didn't do a good enough job of communicating to him that they wanted him. So anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section and see what you guys have to say. Want to start out with a brand new member of the MOBB, Hunter Hodovic. Thank you for becoming a member of the squad. Stand up, Hunter Hodovic. You know what this is. Mob, open your arms. Show my guy Hunter some love. Thank you for becoming a member of the MOBB. You won't be sorry. Look forward to chopping it up with you as the newest member of the squad. So, Hunter Hodovic writes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. And once again, thank you for becoming a member of the MOBB. My guy Hunter writes, sup, T? Sorry joining took me so long. No need to apologize. Better late than never, man. I'm just glad you're here. Dang button isn't on mobile. I told you that's an issue that YouTube has, and I've heard people talk about that already. So that's how I knew how to fix it. He said, but let's go. Mob up. That's right. He says, so happy we have JD back. Just having someone who actually wants to be here is so refreshing. Again, I think a lot of you do this. You think that guys don't want to be here because this organization is dysfunctional and we're not winning. You guys don't understand. If you've never been a part of a team, then you can't begin to understand. It doesn't matter what level it is. You could be talking Pee Wee, you could be talking Pop Warner, you could be talking AAU travel team, you could be talking high school, college. It doesn't matter at what level, okay? If you've ever been a part of a team, then you know there's a special bond and camaraderie that happens when you're spending that much time with 5 to 10 to 15, in this case, 50 different individuals. There's a bond that is created there. And there's a special love that you have for guys that you call your teammates. You call them your brothers. You go to war with them. You don't want to go anywhere else. You would like to stay there if the environment is pleasant, which I told you, J.D. McKissic was one of the most pleasant guys in the locker room. Okay. If the environment is pleasant and you get along with your teammates and the coaching staff, then you don't want to leave. You want to stay. That's why a lot of you are like, Terry's going to want to leave. No, he's not. Terry doesn't want to go anywhere. If we show him the money, Terry's going to be perfectly fine playing here in Washington. Okay. Generally, that's how it goes. If a team drafts you, that's where you ultimately want to stay. Now, it doesn't always work out that way. Okay. But generally speaking, that's how it goes. So JD didn't want to leave. Most guys don't want to go. Ioannidis didn't want to leave. Eric Flowers didn't want to be released and cut. Guys don't want to go. They want to stay here. Okay. The narrative that this is a dysfunctional organization and this, that's a media-driven narrative. No, now it's true, but the players don't pay attention to a lot of that shit. They could care less. Half the time, the players don't even know what's actually going on. You ask these players who they play in 3 weeks, they can't even tell you who they play next week. Okay? These guys have no clue. They've got literally tunnel vision. All they care about is the upcoming opponent. So these players don't hear a lot of the nonsense going on. Daniel Snyder, this, that, and the third. They don't give a shit about that stuff. Is the check going to clear on Thursday? If the check's good, I'm good. They don't care about that stuff. A lot of that stuff, we care about it more than they do. So JD wanted to be here. Most guys. Now, this is the thing. When you're a quarterback and you have a legacy to protect, it's different than a wide receiver or a safety or a linebacker. If you're looking to get paid, you don't care about legacy, this, that, or the third. You just want your money. When you're a quarterback like Russell Wilson, like Aaron Rodgers, like Deshaun Watson, there is a legacy aspect. You're a quarterback. That carries a different connotation. Russell Wilson left Seattle. Why did he leave? Why did he say he wanted out? He said, I feel like they're starting to tarnish my legacy. That's why he wanted out. It's a different standard that you're held to when you're a quarterback. Because if you win, you get the credit. If you lose, it's on your shoulders. So that's different for a quarterback. That's why they don't want to come here. Because they think they're going to lose if they come here. And it is dysfunctional. They have to take all that stuff into consideration. A safety doesn't have to take that into consideration. Now, again, if you're more about winning than you are money, and money is important, but you're like, I want to win too, then Washington will be a little bit further down the run because we haven't won consistently. But if you play a linebacker, you don't give a shit about Washington's history. If they're showing you the money, you're going to come here. Anyway, I digress. Thank you for the super chat, Hunter Hodovic. Luck, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Luck writes, I cussed JD out all on his IG yesterday. He said, called him a dope fiend, perked from neck surgery and all. I apologize today. I feel way better. Luck, that's terrible behavior, man. And this is why some of y'all, we can't take some of y'all nowhere because y'all don't know how to act, okay? These guys are human beings, first and foremost, okay? If J.D. McKissic decided he wanted to go to Buffalo, if J.D. McKissic said, I don't care about the money. I want to win. And I don't see that happening in Washington. And he decided to go to Buffalo. That is his right. Why would you call him a dope fiend and you talk about his injury? Like, that's a serious deal. The man injured his neck. He was laying motionless on the field for over 5 minutes. Like, that's not something to joke about. That's not something that you say because you're mad. Like, some of y'all lose sight of the fact that these are human beings. They're not machines. They bleed just like you. They eat, sleep, and breathe. Anyway, I'm glad you apologized, but how about in the future you don't do that? Okay, how about you not do that? And I'm glad you feel way better. Anyway, I digress. Anyway, thank you for the super chat, Luck. My guy CJ Shoots Photo. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, are we cutting key guys to make a big free agent signing? I don't think there's one in particular that they've got their eye on necessarily. I don't think they said, okay, like the Panthers, for instance. I talked to you guys the other day about the Panthers clearing over $25 million worth of cap space. We know what that's for. They're not hiding the fact that they're looking to go after Deshaun Watson aggressively. That's not what we're doing. We're not clearing cap space because we're going after a big fish or two in free agency. I think they're clearing out this cap space because they want to be comfortable. Nobody wants to be house poor, right? There's a term out there called house poor, where you go and you buy a house and you take it all the way up to the brim, to the limit of what you can afford. And so you're just struggling. You're living paycheck to paycheck. You're barely making ends meet. And you have no surplus, no extra money to enjoy life in the fruits of your labor. You're essentially working to pay your mortgage. You're house poor. Nobody wants to be house poor. So this Carson Wentz deal, you literally took it all the way up essentially to the brim by trading for Carson Wentz. And now you look at your bank account and you're like, man, we don't have shit left. So now they said, hey, we got to replenish the account because we don't want to be house poor. We want to have a little bit of money to go out and have some fun. If your homeboy calls you up and says, hey, man, we hitting the club tonight. We got a couple of spots we going to hit. Got a couple of girls coming out with us, man. You should come out with us. You don't want to be broke and say, nah, man, I'm going to catch up with y'all next time. You want to be able to say, hey, what time y'all going to be up there? I'll meet y'all up there. So Washington's like, hey, we only got $5 million. This shit sucks. So what we're going to do is we're going to start clearing out some space just in case a Bobby McCain becomes available. A Charles Leno Jr. becomes available like they did last year. You guys, I know you saw Austin Hooper is going to be released by the Cleveland Browns. When these types of situations happen, I'm not saying we're going to end up with Austin Hooper, but that's another name to add to the tight end group. And again, I don't think he's going to end up here. Still think he's going to make some good money somewhere, and he's not going to be in our range. But it's just another name out there for somebody to spend their money on that maybe gets us closer to O.J. Howard, which is what I ultimately want to do. So I said all of that to say this. You want to have some money in the event that something happens, right? You want to have the resources in case an opportunity falls into your lap. You want to be able to take advantage of it. I always talk about, to family members, like, you want to be able to have some money in the bank in case an opportunity for an investment comes. You want to be able to say, hey, I'm good. How much y'all need from me? This is what they're trying to do. Not necessarily free up a bunch of space so that they can be aggressive and go after one or two guys in particular. Okay. I think it's just, hey, we want to be in a comfortable state just in case something comes up, we can take care of business. So that's what I think they're trying to do. We'll see. I could be wrong. And they could be targeting a guy or two. We'll see. And a super chat here from Rob U. Thank you for the super chat, Rob U. Greatly appreciate you, Rob U, who writes, thank you for being a member of the MOBB as well, Rob U, who writes, Lou, Rob U, says, the Matt Ioannidis release hurt, man. Think he was still recovering from the injury because he wasn't the same guy. Why the quick trigger? Again, I told you guys that the money wouldn't be an issue. I said, look, don't worry about the cap. They'll figure it out. This is what they had to do to figure it out. Now, look, The Carson Wentz domino effect is what we'll call this. Okay. We'll forever call this the Carson Wentz domino effect. If it works out, we won't care. If it doesn't, and he stinks, and Ioannidis goes on to have an 8.5 sack season for whomever he signs with, and Landon Collins blows up next year, and all of these guys that we had on our roster, end up playing really well for someone, then we'll say it was the Carson Wentz domino effect. Traded for this dude, gave up a couple of draft picks, and took on his $28 million salary, or cap hit, I should say, the $5 million roster bonus and the $23 million base for a grand total of $28 million on the cap. And it hamstrung us. It put us in a bind. It really put us in a tough spot where we had to make some TDs. And this time of the year, you never really want to have to make TDs. You try to position yourself all throughout the years so that you don't end up in a position to have to make TDs this time of the year. But we found ourselves, because we were so desperate at the quarterback position, we now find ourselves in a position where we had to make some TDs. And they're never easy. TDs are never easy. But we had to make them. And Ioannidis was one of them. And it sucks because I was looking forward to seeing if we could get him back to the form that he was at, pre-injury. But they decided that it was too much money for a backup defensive tackle. And they tried to trade him, tried to get something for him. They couldn't, so they had to release him. So it is what it is. At the end of the day, I felt like we needed to do something at defensive tackle anyway. And knowing this group, they may say, hey, we got Daniel Wise. We got David Bada. We got guys that we like at defensive tackle. Oh, really? I hope they don't do that shit, man. Anyway, I digress. Ioannidis was a casualty of the domino effect that is Carson Wentz. Like it or not. I'm okay with it because, again, if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a damn thing. So I'm willing to give this thing a chance to see what happens. Because, again, if you don't have a quarterback, you could have my Ioannidis. You could have Eric Flowers back. Landon Collins could still be on the roster. And we could have all these guys. But if we're trotting out Andy Dalton at quarterback, who gives a shit if those guys are still on the roster? We still stink. So I'm all for going out and trying to fix the quarterback position. And if this is the end result, so be it. We'll see what happens. I'm okay with it. Again, I told you I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt this offseason and see what happens. I'm going to see what happens. All right. Pac-Man D3, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Pac-Man D3 writes, today's my birthday. Happy born day, man. Happy born day, Pac-Man D3. If you guys are out there, show our guy, our family member, Pac-Man D3, some love and let him know he is special on his born day. So happy born day to my guy, Pac-Man D3. He says, and I love that my birthday always falls right at free agency until I remember I'm a Washington fan. Keep balling with both channels, bro. Thank you, Pac-Man D3. And all I ask is that you keep supporting both channels. It's always funny when people say things like that because it can be a bit disheartening at times. You get excited and then you remember, oh yeah, my team stinks. I would look at it like this, less about the start of free agency and your team being Washington and more like, hey, my birthday's close to St. Patrick's Day. I'm about to go turn up. I'm about to go throw back a few just because I'm right around the corner from St. Patrick's Day. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully you'll knock back a few for the kid on your birthday tonight and maybe even tomorrow. Happy belated birthday, and you knock back a few more tomorrow on St. Patrick's Day. But once again, happy born day, Pac-Man D3. Tony P56, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Tony P, writes, yesterday I asked, do we restructure? Today I asked, why don't we restructure? I feel like we could have kept Eric Flowers. They tried. They didn't just cut Eric Flowers. They tried to restructure. They tried to work on an extension for him. Okay? That's the word out on the street, is they tried to work on an extension for Eric Flowers. They wanted him back. They could not come to terms on an agreement that made sense for both sides, so they had to do this. So It's not like it was a lack of trying on their end. They tried to make it work with Eric Flowers. He had a number in mind. They had a number in mind. They couldn't meet in the middle. And so you find yourself here with a guy that is no longer here. He was on the last year of that 3-year, $30 million deal he signed with the Dolphins. Remember, we traded for him after the first year of that deal. So he was going into the last year of that deal. And as far as they were concerned, they liked him. They wanted him back, but they didn't love him. And he wanted love me money. And they were like, we like you. And here's some we like you money. There's a big difference. And apparently that difference got him cut. So, Luck, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Luck. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Landon officially released a few minutes ago. So Landon is free to go about his business. He's released so he can go find a new team. They're not going to hold him hostage. He's released, but we still are designating him a post June 1 cut, meaning his money is still on the books until post June 1. So he's free to go find another team. Like, it wouldn't be fair to him if we post June 1 cut him and he can't go find another team and all the money's dried up. No, he's allowed to go find another team. Look at it like this. Remember last year, the Minnesota Vikings designated their tight end. What's the name of the damn tight end? Kyle Rudolph. They designated him a post June 1 cut. But remember, he was free to go sign and we were interested. And he was coming off of an injury and the Giants ended up signing him. So the wherever he signs, he'll be on that team's roster, but it won't become official until June 1 for us. He'll be officially off the books. We'll get that caps savings. And so he's free to go find a team. It wouldn't be fair to him if, that's how it used to be, where you weren't going to cut a guy until June 1. You held on to him and he didn't get cut until June 1st, even though he knew he was getting cut. That sucks because all the money's dried up by June 1. Now the new bargaining agreement says, hey, no, you go ahead and let me know what's good. You designate me post June 1 cut, but I can go out and find a team and get me some new money while the money's there to be got. So, yeah, Landon Collins has been released, but it's still a post June 1 designation. CJ shoots photo. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. CJ shoots photo, who writes, looks like we have $20.2 million in cap space now. I wonder if that's taking into consideration all the moves that have been made, because I don't think that ink has been put to paper on a lot of those deals, the Bobby McCain deal, the J.D. McKissick deal. I think those have been agreed to in principle. So if you don't have those deals in principle and have those officially done, then you're not going to see the actual subtractions being done. I think that $20 million number that you referred to, J.D. McKissick is 2.5. Bobby McCain is 3. What is he? I think he's, J.D. McKissick is 3.5. Bobby McCain is 5.5, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I don't know what his base salary is going to be because we're assuming that they're splitting it in half. He's $11 million contract, 5.5, but that's not usually how NFL contracts work all the time. Sometimes they do. Like Eric Flowers' deal was straight up 3 years, 30 million, 10, which is why we saved $10 million on this final year of his deal. But that it doesn't always work that way. So I don't think that $20.2 million number is accurate. It may be accurate. It may be accurate. I did some number crunching, and I think it's around $10 million. But if it's at 20, even better. But I don't think the number is at 20, but we'll see what happens either way. Thank you for the super chat. CJ shoots photo. Thaddeus Gross, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, what's good, Lou? What's good, Thad? Says, as much as I like Matt and Eric, I'm not mad at Ron. They were good, don't get me wrong, but I'm ready for change. I have faith Ron's plan. So this is the thing. There were fans that were up in arms and outraged when we got rid of Morgan Moses. Okay. I told you, We're a fan base that because we don't have shit, when the little bit that we do have, we hold on to it and we clutch it like they're the best thing since sliced bread, right? We got rid of Eric Flowers. He's a solid NFL starting offensive guard. He's not an all-pro. He's not a Pro Bowl guard. He's a solid starting offensive guard, okay? He's not great. He's solid. All right? He's replaceable, okay? We moved on from Matt Ioannidis. He wasn't even a starter. Rotational depth defensive tackle that produced like a sack and a half last year, okay? Again, he may have bounced back this upcoming season and gotten back to his form and had 7.5 sacks. We don't know what he's going to do, but he didn't do that last year. I heard that the team wanted Tim Settle back and that, they just couldn't reach a number. I think they were interested in bringing him back, but, at the end of the day, these are all guys that are replaceable. Nobody that we've moved on from is irreplaceable. That includes Landon Collins. All of these guys are replaceable, okay? So there shouldn't be anybody up in arms. Even J.D. McKissick would have been replaceable, okay? There's no reason to be up in arms. Again, we're not talking about blue chip players here. We're not talking about all Pro Bowl players. Brandon Sheriff was that. And you could argue that maybe he wasn't all of that, but his name resonated, so he got the Pro Bowl recognition, even though he didn't always deserve it. Whatever the case may be, I said all of that to say this. There's no reason to be crying about a lot of these guys. I agree with you, Thad. There's a lot of these guys, hey, they cool, but if we're going in a different direction, let's do it. As Ron Rivera once said, and that's the same group that you won 3 games with before I got here. And you want to tell me that, what y'all were doing was working fine? F that. F you if you think that that's the way we're going to do things around here. And it's the same group we won 7 games with 2 years in a row. All right. Change does need to be made, which is why I'm afraid if they don't make change that they think this roster is much better than what it is. No, there needs to be changes made. Even if they don't want to make some of them. Rob, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy, Rob, writes, Justin Reed would have been perfect here and didn't break the bank. I looked at a lot of these safety contracts and I said, damn, would have been nice to have some bread. None of them got ridiculous deals. Remember that year when we signed Landon Collins? Everybody was getting ridiculous money that year. We started it with the Landon Collins 6 years, $84 million deal. And everybody else followed suit. Tyrann Mathieu, Earl Thomas, all those dudes got broke off that offseason. Everybody was making like 16 mil that year at the safety position. That's not what happened this offseason. I think Justin Reed signed a 3-year, like $31 million deal. I'm like, that's it? We could have did that. I look at the deal Marcus May got. Yeah, he coming off of an injury. 3 years, $28 million. We could have did that. At the end of the day, we weren't in a position to do any of that stuff. And they wanted to bring back Bobby McCain. I knew what they were going to do. So we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, Justin Reed would have been great, but that's not where we were. That's not where we were from a financial standpoint. We weren't in a position to really do any of that stuff. Let's see. Tony P56, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Tony P56, who writes, was Carolina's Super Bowl run more of Ron and company or Cam Newton in his prime? If it was more of Cam's talent, we might be in trouble, LOL. Ron and company be tripping. So, honestly, that Panthers team caught lightning in a bottle. They had been on the cusp. So what you have to understand about that Panthers team was that they were on the cusp for multiple years. They were going to battle with Seattle, it seemed like, in the playoffs every year. or every other year, because the running joke in Carolina was that they would make the playoffs every odd numbered year. So 2013, they made the playoffs. 2015, they made the playoffs. I think 2017, they made the playoffs, and that was the last time Ron made the playoffs in Carolina. They never really made it back-to-back years, and they never made it on the even years. So they were on the cusp. They were a good team. They were fighting. They were getting close. And then 15, it all clicked. Cam Newton played out of his gourd. Their run game was exceptional. They didn't have great receivers, but those guys stepped up. Ted Ginn Jr. among them. The defense was outstanding. Josh Norman, as we know, played out of his mind that year. Never played at that level again in his career. We should know firsthand. We signed him after that year. Everything clicked for them that year. And it can happen in this league. We've seen it happen before. You get hot, and I talk about it all the time. Confidence begets winning. Winning begets confidence. It's a vicious, flavored, delicious cycle that you want to repeat over and over again. And they started to win. They gained confidence. And they kept winning. And it was a lot of the players on the field. It was a lot of Cam Newton. It was a lot of Luke Kuechly and Dick Shirt or Josh Norman. It was a lot of those players balling that year. But also got to give credit to that coaching staff. They were all good. So we'll see. A lot of people are starting to look at that season and say that had nothing to do with Ron. Look, none of this stuff happens in a vacuum. It's not just the players on the field. They get coached up. And so got to give Ron some credit, even if you don't want to. Chilled Dude, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Chilled Dude, writes, boy, do we have a lot of work to do. 6 draft picks, 11 or 12 needs. Need some crisp, reduced items. Love you, Lou. # mob. Need some crisp, reduced items. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. The problem is those items may not be to our liking. So you just never know how it's going to go. All you can do is hope that there's some stuff back there waiting for us when the dust settles, smoke clears, and hope we're in a position to go ahead and make a couple of purchases that'll help the team. But, it's not ideal to have traded away your third, already not having a fifth. And now, you look up and you say, slim pickings over here, man. Not a lot of draft capital. And this is why I've talked about the notion that us trading back at 11 isn't out of the realm of possibility when you look at all the needs we have versus the draft capital that we currently are sitting on. It's not ideal. So, if there isn't a guy that they love sitting there at 11 and they get a phone call to get out of 11, I wouldn't be shocked to see Washington trade out of that pick, or for that matter, 47 in the second round. I wouldn't be shocked. Remember when Bruce Allen, I never like to give Bruce Allen any credit for anything, but I remember when he traded, they wanted the running back out of Auburn that ended up being drafted by the Detroit Lions. Can't think of his name right now. But they wanted him. And the Lions took him. So they traded back, picked up draft capital, and then took Darius Geis. Now, we were all smiling at the time. Oh, man, traded back, picked up draft capital, still got a quality running back, which was a position of need. And obviously that turned out to be a disaster with Darius Geis. But that's something that we probably are going to have to consider at 47. We were right in that same range, too, when we made that trade out of that pick. I wouldn't be shocked if we traded back in the first or second round to pick up more draft capital just because of where we sit. And again, I don't know if they view this roster in the same light that I do, which is why it's hard to say what they're thinking, because I'm sitting here telling you we could use another tight end, we could use another running back, we could use another receiver, we could use a couple of offensive linemen, we could use another, defensive end or two. We could use another linebacker or two. We could use another corner, a nickel specifically. We could use another safety. I'm sitting here telling you all of this, and they may be like, nah, we good. We really just need a couple of offensive linemen, a nickelback, another corner, and we need a middle linebacker, and we straight. Like that could be what they're thinking. They might not be thinking about wide receiver and tight end and running back. They may be like, no, we straight at those positions. So they may not be thinking about trading back. This might be a very concentrated draft where you get in, milk, eggs, bread, and cheese, very small list. You know exactly what you're getting. You get in and you get out. We'll see. Thaddeus Gross, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Thaddeus Gross writes, Lou, what do you think about Miles Jack? I think that Miles Jack is interesting. Still playing at a high level. I remember when he came into the league, he was supposed to be a top 5 pick, had a knee injury. A lot of people said that it was a debilitating knee injury that would only get worse, and thus there was a cap and a shelf life on his career. And that's why he went in the second round. You fast forward, 5-6 years later, and here he is available. And I wonder if Jacksonville expects his knee to explode or something like that. Or if they just say, hey, we're going in a different direction. We don't want to pay him. We want to spend our money elsewhere. I keep asking, how the hell does Jacksonville always end up with money? Well, maybe this is how. They get rid of guys a year or two, sooner than they need to. And it frees up cap space. But I think Miles Jack is still playing at a relatively high level. And I wouldn't have any issues with us picking him up. The question you have to ask yourself is, do we need Miles Jack? Because he's not a true middle linebacker, So I don't know if that's essentially what you're looking at. But Miles Jack he's not a true Mike. And I think they want a true Mike. So I'm interested in him because, like I said, we could use multiple linebackers. Okay. But I don't think that's what they're looking to do. I think they're looking for a true Mike linebacker. And I don't think that Miles Jack is that. Let's see. Alonzo Yarborough, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Alonzo writes, is it possible for team command to drop Wentz and clear the space for Watson? No, it's not possible. We've already taken on Carson Wentz. Look, again, I don't know if you guys, some of you haven't been paying attention, or you just are hard of hearing, or you don't want to hear. I'm going to assume that you just didn't hear me say this before, which is fine. Deshaun Watson doesn't want to come here. And this isn't speculation. This isn't a guess. This isn't me drawing an inference. This is factual. Deshaun Watson made it abundantly clear that he did not want to come to Washington. He's already made that clear. And not only has he made it clear publicly, he also addressed that with his, through his agent with Washington. Washington sat down at the combine. This is why this move was made for Carson Wentz after the combine. Why? Because Washington sat down with the agent of Deshaun Watson, who also shares an agent with Landon Collins. So they sat down to talk about Landon Collins' situation. And that's when they asked Landon Collins to take the first pay cut, was at the combine. And his agent said, yeah, we'll do it. We're cool with him taking a pay cut, right? And while they were there, they said, well, since we got you, Deshaun, I heard he's kind of clearing up some of this criminal stuff and that he might be available and on the block here shortly. He's like, hey, let me save you the trouble. He's not interested in coming to Washington. Okay, okie dokie. So you move on. You don't even waste your time there. So moving on from Carson, they would have never traded for Carson had they known that Deshaun Watson was interested. But they know he's not, so that's why they moved on. Like, we don't need to waste time going after a guy that doesn't want us. So, no, you can't clear out the space. You can't move on from Carson. We're already eating that money. That's on the books. Washington football fan WGIL. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Lou, how do we trade our 10,000 subs for a Dublin sponsorship? I've reached out to him. I'm going to reach out to him again because I know I got enough influence to drive traffic their way. I've had people already tell me that it's delicious. I shouldn't even be talking about this right now because I'm doing them a favor right now, and I need to be paid for that. So, yeah, I don't know what to do at this point. All I can do is just continue to reach out and hopefully have them get back to me. Anyway, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Washington football fan, WGIL. Let's see if we have any more super chats. And we do. Here's one from Benjamin Slade. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Benjamin Slade writes, Settle is the guy we will regret. I think he will shine in Buffalo. I'm accepting Wentz. Wasn't better options. If he fails, 1 year experiment. I think we've all come to the realization that Washington rolled the dice. They gambled on a 1 year rental with Carson Wentz. If they like the rental, they can buy the car, right? If they don't like the rental, they can take it back to Enterprise or Hertz or wherever they got it from, and they can try again. So I think that's the way you convince yourself that this Wentz thing is okay if you're not on board, right? As far as Tim Settle is concerned, they wanted him back. They tried, but I don't think they tried hard enough. And I don't know if Buffalo told Tim Settle, hey, we can guarantee you more snaps. Look, you're playing behind, Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne, two guys that don't get injured, that play, 80 to 85% of the snaps each year. You're not going to get any run, dude. Come to Buffalo. You'll get plenty of opportunities to shine here. So maybe that was the appealing nature of the conversation with Tim Settle. Because I don't think the money, again, similar to JD McKissic, I don't think the money was all that great in the biggest motivating factor in him choosing Buffalo. Now, I did see an incentive clause in his contract that stated he gets like an additional some odd $1,000, for every sack that he gets. So we'll see what happens. But I just think he ultimately chose Buffalo for the opportunity, So we'll see what happens. Straight Happy. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Straight Happy says, what up, Lou? What up, Straight Happy? I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to say. But if I see anything from you, I'm going to just read it. Appreciate you, Straight Happy. Thank you for the super chat. JP's Sports Bar. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy JP's Sports Bar writes, what's up, Lou? What's up, JP? Shout out the command post. Have we tried to restructure Wentz's $28 million? I don't think so. And I don't think they will be able to restructure his $28 million. Here's why. Here's the conversation. And you put yourself in Carson Wentz's shoes, okay? Here's the conversation. Here's how it goes. Carson, baby, come here. Come in for the hug, man. Glad to have you here in Washington, man. We love you. That's why we went out and traded for you. Here's the thing, Carson. $23 million base. We've already paid you the $5 million roster bonus. Can't get that back. But this $23 million that's sitting here. Think we can do something with that. Restructure it. Move some money around. Pay cut, maybe. No. I want all of my money. Okay, cool. Just wanted to ask. Just thought I'd throw that out there. What are you going to do? Cut him? I've always told you guys, if you're willing to go to someone and ask them to take a pay cut or restructure, you better be willing to ask them, be willing to cut them, because there's always the option and the opportunity for that player to say, no, not doing it. And then what? There's no other recourse. For Carson Wentz, It's really simple. You traded for me. You agreed to eat my salary. There's no restructuring here. I can't allow you to push any of my money to next year because guess what? There's no guaranteed money for next year. So if I allow you to move money around, I could get cut next year, not see my money. So I'll take my $28 million this year. Thank you very much. And we'll see how things go. But as of right now, I want all of my money. Thanks. So, yeah, they can't restructure. And they could ask if that's possible, but that's a hard no for me if I'm Carson Wentz. And what are you going to do about it? Not a goddamn thing. Low-key, not Loki. Thank you for becoming a member of the MOBB. Stand up. You are officially in the building. Low-key, not Loki. Greatly appreciate you. Mob, you know what to do. Show Low-key, not Loki, some love. Welcome to the squad. Let's see. Straight happy. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Straight happy. Really do appreciate you. Let's see if you wrote anything else. What up, Straight Happy? Thank you once again for the super chat. Straight Happy. DMV fan 123. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy DMV fan 123 writes, can we count on Ramon to carry on the legacy of Razor Ramon? Hashtag rip Scott Hall. Nah, that's too big a shoe to fill. You know, I said I would talk about that. That's a podcast topic. But that one hit me hard. I'm not gonna lie. That one hit me hard. But that's another conversation for another day. Let's see. Super chat here from Big Money Sunny. Thank you for the super chat. Big Money Sunny, greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Big Money Sunny, writes, Lou, just stopping by to say congrats on the 20K, homie. Thank you so much, Big Money Sunny. Really do appreciate you. It's a major milestone and accomplishment, and I appreciate each and every single one of you, including you, Big Money Sunny. Thank you for the super chat and the congrats. I really do truly appreciate you. I'm over here fighting a good fight. I'm gonna be right back. I need to blow my nose. I'll be back. All right, back like cook crack. I'm over here fighting like a little 8-year-old kid trying to not have snot run down my nose, man. I was like, look, I can't keep fighting this fight because eventually I'm going to say some shit and a big-ass snot bubble going to come out of my nose. Y'all have never let me live it down. So I'm like, let me stop trying to be hard over here and just go blow my damn nose. So thank you for allowing that to happen. Back like cook crack, and Kevin, the PRF, is up next. Thank you for the super chat, Kevin, the PRF. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, LT, I don't buy any GM buys into we need this guy, we need this, and we need, and this we need, we straight. Well, okay. Let's do this again. LT, I don't buy any GM buys into we need this, and we straight. I feel every GM feels what needs they can, not feels every need, every want they need. I do think there's some validity to that. I don't agree with that. I don't think every GM is wired the same. I do think there are specific GMs that just go into the offseason saying, hey, we'll just see what happens. We'll see what comes about. We'll put ourselves in a position to take advantage of an opportunity should it come about. But like, I'll give you an example. Tom Telesco. The Chargers fans call him Coupon Tom because he was cheap, he was frugal, he never really made any trades. If the Chargers had 7 picks in the draft, they were going to go into the draft with 7 picks, and they were going to come out with 7 picks. Well, this offseason, he was very deliberate in how he moved. They knew they needed a starting caliber corner. They knew they needed an edge rusher. They were going to lose Uchenna Nwosu, which they did. He just ended up in Seattle. They knew they were going to lose an edge rusher, so they needed a guy opposite of Joey Bosa. They were very deliberate in how they moved this offseason. They knew exactly what they needed to do, and they did it. They knew they needed to bring back Mike Williams. Check. Signed him to an extension, a long-term deal. They knew they needed to go get a starting corner. Check. They went out and got J.C. Jackson. They knew they needed an edge rusher. Check. They went out and traded for Khalil Mack. I think there are certain instances where GMs go into the offseason saying, here's our checklist, and we need to get it done. And then there are other GMs that go into the offseason saying, hey, we got a few needs here, but I don't expect to hit all of them. We'll see if we can knock them down. But I do think that GMs are very keen and aware of what the team needs. This is your job as a GM, to know what your team needs and the holes that you have. And your job as a GM is to go out and fill them. So I do think that there are, like the Chargers, they went into this offseason saying, we need to re-sign Mike Williams. We need to go get a starting caliber corner, not via the draft, but a guy with NFL experience that's going to come in and help right now. And we need an edge rusher that's going to do the same. Check, check, and check. Now they're going to go about their business in the draft. They're done. He's like, we straight. Okay. We went into the offseason with this checklist. Check, check, check. Now we straight. We going into the draft. Like, I don't expect the Chargers to be uber aggressive moving forward. They've done the things that they needed to do. So I do think there are some GMs that approach the offseason like, hey, we need to do this, and we straight. And that's what Tom Telesco has done this offseason. And you'll see teams as they get closer and closer to winning a championship, or closer and closer to their window being open, which is where the Chargers are. That window of opportunity is officially open now. They know Justin Herbert is the truth. They know that he's capable of taking them where they need to go. They just need to surround them with the talent and the pieces necessary. So now you go out, you make a specific list, and you go out and get those items. When the closer you get to a chip, the more specific you get. I'll give you an example. The Cincinnati Bengals last year, they had all these holes. You know what they did? They went out on a spending frenzy. That's not Cincinnati Bengal-like. They went out and they got Trey Hendrickson. They went out and they signed a guy that I wanted here in Washington in the nickel corner from the Steelers. They went out and signed Larry Ogunjobi, a defensive tackle. Mike Hilton was that corner that I was just talking about. They went out and they got all of these pieces, all right? And they upgraded that team significantly, right? They didn't go in the offseason saying, here's a list of, they just said, hey, we're going to try to get better. And we're going to identify guys that we think are going to make us better. And it may be at a position of need. It may not be. But we're going to identify these players, and we're going to go out and we're going to add as many of them as we can. They did that. And look what happened. Now, this year, they're much more specific. And we need to upgrade the offensive line in front of Joe Burrow. So what do? They have already gone out and plucked away Alex Kappa from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the guard position. They're going to be very specific and strategic in how they move, because their window is right there and they see what they need. So they're not going to be out here just throwing around bucks. They're going to be very specific. So I disagree with that statement. I do think teams go into the offseason, GMs in particular, go into the offseason saying, hey, we get this, and this, and we straight, because this roster is ready to go. Thank you for the super chat, Kevin, the PRF. Chauncey Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Chauncey writes, Lou, Chauncey, I'm back. Missed you, Chauncey. Really missed you, OG, triple OG. Says, family stuff, the life of a grandparent. I know how it goes, man. I don't. I can't sympathize, but I know how life happens. You know what I'm saying? And as you get older, you got less responsibility. You get to just do the things that you want to do, man. So good for you. Glad you're enjoying life and enjoying the grandkids. And so he says, out of necessity and he said, I know of all his shortcomings, but he says, since the second coming of Ultra Heineke, I'm just saying. He says, so I know all of his shortcomings, but since the second coming of Ultra Heineke, I'm just saying I don't think we're going to get the second coming of Ultra, but you never know. All it takes is, and I'm not going to speak it into existence, but all it takes is one, and boom, he's back out there, and we're driving the 4-car again, and who knows where the hell it's going to go. But I don't want to see the 4-car out there again. I want him on the roster. I've made this abundantly clear, but I want to see what Carson Wentz is all about. I wonder what number Carson Wentz is going to wear. Clearly, 11 is off, the table. That was his number in Philadelphia. Cam Sims is wearing 11. I don't think Cam Sims is looking to give it up. He was once 89 was Cam Sims, and he waited until Alex Smith left, and he jumped all over 11. So I don't think Cam Sims is looking to give up 11, although, Cam Sims technically wasn't on the roster when Wentz was traded for. So technically speaking, if Wentz comes in, they could dick Cam Sims and say, bro, you got to get a new number. This is Carson Wentz's number. But Wentz was then number 2 in Indy. Obviously, De'Ami Brown is number 2. He didn't hold a lot of rank. He just got here last year, but it's his number, right? So I wonder what Wentz is going to do number-wise. I wonder if he's just going to go get another number, but 11 was his number in college at North Dakota State University. He was his number at the Eagles. He couldn't get it in Indy because Michael Pittman Jr. had it and he wasn't giving it up. So Wentz took 2. I guess 1 + 1 = 2. I'm thinking that's his thought process there. Because numbers matter. Numbers matter. Guys care about their jersey numbers. Not everyone, but most guys care about their jersey number. So I wonder what he's going to do. I know that was so off the beaten path. That was not even the question that was asked, but I'm interested. I'm more interested in what jersey number Carson Wentz is going to wear than the second coming of Taylor Heineke or Heineke Ultra, because I just don't see it. I know what he is as an NFL quarterback, and I don't need to see any more of it in a starting capacity. So thank you for the super chat. OG, triple OG, Chauncey Davis. Great to have you back. Tyrone Williams, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Tyrone writes, they should get Julio Jones when Tennessee releases him, and number 0 from Utah can make Cam Sims our number 2 receiver. I believe in him. I don't think it's wise to go after Julio Jones if you're a team like us. I think if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, it makes sense to go after a Julio Jones, or a New Orleans Saints makes sense to go after a Julio Jones. Teams like that you feel like, hey, especially if you get Deshaun Watson, one of those teams is going to end up with Watson, and now you need weapons. If you're close to doing something, you're a playoff team, you need another weapon. I keep any veteran receiver that can help. I think should be considered by the Kansas City Chiefs. But if you're a team like Washington, first of all, I've already told you guys this. We're not spending any more free agent dollars on receiver. So get that through your skulls, okay? They're going to spend big money on Terry. They've already spent money on Curtis Samuel. They're not spending any more big free agent dollars on receiver. They're just not. They can't allocate any more resources to that particular position. So don't look for it. All right. That said, that doesn't mean they can't take a guy in the draft. But with the addition of Cam Sims back into the fold, I don't know if that's high on their priority list or not. Cam Sims being our number 2 receiver, I don't think that's in the best interest of the team. I think I've said this already. Cam Sims at best is a 3rd option. And I think he's a damn good 3rd option. Probably even better suited to be your 4th option. But I don't think he's a number 2 in this league. And that's okay. Not everybody's built to be a number 2. I don't think Cam Sims is built to be a number 2. That said, I like Cam Sims. I don't love Cam Sims. I'm glad that he's back. But again, if it means we're not going to be aggressive in the way of going after a receiver in the draft, then I don't want Cam Sims back, and I'm not happy about it. But if they go out and get a receiver and promote competition, or they decide, hey, we're going to keep 6 receivers. And Cam Sims is one of those 6, including the rookie, I'm all for it. But if they say, hey, we're keeping 5 dudes and we're going to let that, and if they draft a guy, 4th round or earlier, more likely than not, that guy's going to make the roster. So, we'll see what happens. Anyway, and the 0 you speak of is the linebacker from Utah. I remember once upon a time, people were talking about him as our pick at 11. I don't think that is the case any longer. We'll see. But I'd like to think that he'll drop down the board. And again, some of this is dumb. When you talk about linebackers and speed, it's not the end-all, be-all at that position. I think that position is more about instincts. But you got to be able to run, man. I don't give a shit. I still want you to be able to run. And what I saw from him in the combine, and again, he could have had an injury. He could have put on weight trying to, show that he was heavier, and it didn't work out for him. He may run a lot faster at Utah's pro day, but he wasn't fast at the combine. So anyway, I digress. Dejon Bell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Dejon Bell writes, Lou, has Washington ever reached out to you to be an ambassador? No, they haven't. They don't even know who I am, dude. Like, no, they haven't reached out to me to be an ambassador. They have other things that they need to be worried about. When they were trying to rebrand, I know like they were looking to have like fan engagement. And when they were setting up the new brand of Washington, one of the things Jason Wright came in and did was he got, Anton the boss, as a gamer to be a part of the new rebrand that they were doing. That's one thing, because that's something that they were trying to do. But I don't think that they know who a lot of us are, obviously, but that's okay. I'm not, jonesing for that. I'm not out here working towards that. If something like that were to come available, I would listen. I don't even know if I would take it, to be honest with you, because I'm not looking to be a cheerleader for the team. I don't want anybody censoring me, telling me what I can or can't say. So I don't even know if I would take it. I would listen, clearly, and obviously I would listen, but I don't even know if I would take it. I really enjoy being my own boss. I really, truly do. And I don't take that for granted. Having worked in the workforce before and, having punched the clock, working a 9 to 5, I know what that's like, having to answer to someone else. Having that, having cut those strings and not having that burden anymore, I don't even know if I would want to do that. Again, they would have to sweeten the pot, and they would have to tell me, look, bro, you can do whatever the hell you want to do. We just have certain deadlines we need you to hit, but things don't come without strings attached. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I digress. Kyle, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Kyle writes, so glad we got JD back. In your opinion, who do we need to go after next? I think LB, still lots of guys available, so he thinks linebacker. What about Will Fuller, though? I mean, again, we're not going after any free agent wide receivers. We're not spending any more money at that position. Spent money on it last year with Curtis Samuel. You're going to spend money on it this year with Terry McLaurin. You're not looking to invest any more money into that position in particular. So as far as Will Fuller is concerned, the guy hasn't produced in essentially a year and a half, going back to when he was suspended at the end of his Texans run. That bled over into the following year with the Dolphins. He gets injured a couple of times with the Dolphins. He's done nothing essentially in a year and a half. So he'll be interesting for someone, just not us. As far as who do I think we need to go after next, I told you I'm going to make a list, and I'm going to present that list to you, you guys, tomorrow, as to the available free agents left in free agency that I think we should go after. And I'll have that list for you tomorrow night. Tony P56, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Tony P56 writes, I'm calling it now. Wentz will win our division, but get injured in week 16. Heineke will come in and lead us to a Super Bowl win. Heineke will get a statue. So you're essentially playing the Eagles movie from 2017 all over again. That's essentially what you're doing. Is you're playing the Eagles movie from 17 over again and just changing some of the characters. But it's the same script. Same outcome. I don't see that happening. If it does, then you deserve an award for predicting that as we sit here on March the 16th. I don't see that happening. Well, we'll see what Wentz does, how this division plays, how everything goes. And I'm not speaking injury into existence for any player, including our, recently newly minted traded quarterback. I don't want to see that happen. So I know there's a likelihood that at some point he might, but I'm not speaking it into existence. We'll see what happens. If Heineke won a Super Bowl, he would get a statue. Any quarterback that wins a Super Bowl here will get a statue. We're thirsty and we're dying that badly for a winner. Daniel Snyder would build a statue in front of the new stadium, wherever it's built. That quarterback will have a statue. I guarantee you. Anyway, I digress. J Mart, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy J Mart writes, they have us taking Wilson at 11. Thoughts? Who is they? Number one. And number two, mock drafts are exactly that. Mock drafts. They don't hold a lot of weight. This, to me, this year is the first year in a very long time that I can't actually tell you what the hell we're going to do with our pick. I knew exactly what I predicted the pick last year. Told you it was going to be Jamin Davis. If it wasn't him, I knew it was going to be a linebacker. Ron doesn't keep secrets very well. Last year, he made it abundantly clear he wanted a linebacker. We were desperate for one. He went and got one. This year, he made it abundantly clear he wanted a quarterback. He was desperate. He went and got one. We'll see how it works out for him. Didn't work out the way he wanted it to last year. We'll see how it works out for him this time with the quarterback position. That said, we knew what we were getting in the first round last year, right? I knew what we were getting in 2020, right? Chase Young was going to be the first pick. We knew that. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That was anticlimactic. You go to 2019. We knew we wanted a quarterback. We knew we needed a quarterback, but we were like, hey, none of these guys are any good. And they still took a damn quarterback. Okay. So we kind of knew. We didn't want to, but we kind of knew. 18. We knew we were taking a defensive lineman, more likely than not. I didn't want us to. If you recall, that was the Tim Settle draft, right? I didn't want to. And going back to 19, I wanted us to take an edge rusher. I wanted Brian Burns. We ended up getting Montez Sweat as we traded back into the first round. But either way, we knew we were getting a quarterback. 18, a lot of you wanted Vita Vea in that draft. I want to say that the 18 draft was the Vita Vea draft. And you wanted Vita Vea. And he was gone. The Bucs took him like 2 picks before we were even on the board. So they put us out of our misery. But the defensive tackle, position kept coming up. And I kept saying, for the life of me, for my sanity, please take the best player available. I thought that player was Tremaine Edmonds. I said, if you want to go the Derwin James route, go right ahead. But these guys are available. Don't pass on them because you want to pick a need at defensive tackle. Don't do it. They did it. They took Deron Payne. And we saw it coming because Vita Vea was rumored as well. 2017, we knew we were taking Jonathan Allen if he was available. We didn't expect him to be available, but then this neck thing came up, and all of a sudden he was available at like 17. So we took him. 16, we knew we were taking a wide receiver. I think that was the Josh Doxson year, 2016 was, I think. If I'm not mistaken, it's either 2015 or 2016 was Josh Doxson. I want to say Doxson was 15. In 2016, 2016 might have been Brandon Sheriff. And then 2015 was Josh Doxson, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So we knew we were getting a receiver Josh Doxson's year. You know, we just didn't know which one. Will Fuller was there. Josh Doxson was there. It wasn't a great receiver class. We botched that clearly. And 2016, we got Brandon Sheriff. And we thought we were getting a tackle. We got a guard. And that spawned the famous Jay Gruden soundbite. You know, one guy's a receiver and the other is a guard. So we kind of knew what we were going to do. I think this is the first draft in a long time. I essentially did all of that to tell you this. I don't know what the hell we're doing. And this is the first time in recent memory where I clearly can't give you a definitive answer as to what we're going to do, what direction we're going to go in. We could go in a multitude of directions. It's a good place to be in, honestly, because you don't pigeonhole yourself into saying, hey, we need this. I just think you take the best player available at whatever position. You know, spillage is what it's all about. You get a dominant corner, you get a dominant receiver, you get a dominant edge rusher. I don't give a shit. Take them. You probably aren't going to be able to re-sign Montez Sweat and Chase Young. If you love, you know, one of these edge rushers, and I love a lot of these edge rushers in this draft. Okay. If you love one of these edge rushers and he's sitting there at 11, take his ass. Don't wait. Take him. I wouldn't have any problems if they took another pass rusher at 11. Not one problem with it. So, I don't know. I can tell you this. Us taking a receiver at 11, that's cool. I have no problems with us taking a receiver at 11 because if you're looking for a Carson Wentz or whomever is going to replace him if he doesn't work out, that guy's going to need weapons regardless. So, might as well give Carson Wentz all the weapons that he can, you know, stand so that there's no excuse as to why he didn't succeed. So, if they took a receiver, great. That'd be awesome. King of the North. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy, King of the North. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB Rights. I think the way this defense performed last year has Ron thinking about getting free agents on that side of the ball. They really hope Wentz will help elevate the offense. Film showed guys getting open. I do think that they understand that there's work that needs to be done on the defensive side of the ball. Although we started to play better towards the end of the season, there are some clear holes on the defense that need to be addressed. I don't know if they're going to address them or not, but I wouldn't be so fast to just, you know, chalk up the lack of success the last 2 years to the quarterback position and the quarterback position alone. I just think you need better players, period. I think and maybe we get more production out of our receivers this year. Maybe, you know, Curtis Samuel does stay healthy. Maybe De'Ami Brown does take a monumental leap in year 2. Maybe Dax Milne is ready to take over as the primary slot receiver in year 2. Maybe all of a sudden this receiving core doesn't look average at best any longer and starts to play up to the standards that they have set for them. You know, maybe Logan Thomas is ready to go at the start of the season and balls out and plays like he did back in 2020. You know, maybe, you know, John Bates steps up and whomever that second guy in line at the tight end position is, whether they bring somebody in or they promote John Bates and have, you know, Sammy Reyes is our third tight end, or they bring back Ricky Seals-Jones, whatever the case may be. And that position performs at a high level. And you get the 1-2 punch of J.D. McKissick and Antonio Gibson, and that plays really well for us. Maybe the offense is, you know, in a good spot and they really just need to focus in on defense. But I find that hard to believe. And if they believe that, they're delusional. And I've talked about delusion here with this team and some of the things I've been hearing, some of the comments that have been made. It reeks of delusion, which is why I said we were two things. We were desperate and we were delusional. You saw the desperation already with the Carson Wentz move and what that's done and the Carson Wentz domino effect. Now the delusion could be setting in. If they think this roster just needs to be healthy and they'll be fine, that's delusion, folks. So we'll see. I hope they understand that this roster needs work on both sides, not just the defensive side. And yes, the defense didn't perform at a high enough level, especially with the talent that we claim to have. Then we need to be playing at a much higher level than we did defensively last season. So we'll see if they are able to find some pieces that maybe help them kick it up a notch. I mean, a middle linebacker would do wonders for this defense. I truly do mean that. A nickel corner, a slot would do a good one, not just a guy, but a good one would do wonders for this defense. And a ball hawking free safety would do wonders. But they really like Bobby McCain, so I don't think they're going to do anything there, to be honest with you. We'll see what happens. As far as the film showing guys getting open, sure. It showed guys getting open, but there are also some instances where Carson Wentz will hold on to the ball too long, waiting for guys to get open and not check it down. And so we hope that there's a happy medium there between Wentz, Scott Turner, and the way this offense needs to be ran and executed. So we'll see what happens. Thank you for the super chat, King of the North. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Big Money Sonny, who writes, Lou, Big Money Sonny, says fans out here still bitching about Wentz and the 28 milli. Take an edible and move on. We have other fish to fry. P.S. Glad JD is back. Look, I told you I will never, ever chastise a fan for harping on something too long. Sometimes like the Carson Wentz thing is still fresh. It happened last week. Okay. If they're still talking about the Carson Wentz deal 5 years from now, then you're like, okay, get off of it. All right. But it's still fresh. I'm not going to tell anybody how to feel. If somebody's pissed off because of the Carson Wentz deal and the domino effect that then followed and ensued, causing the team to cut ties with Matt Ioannidis and Eric Flowers. These are guys that you expect to be, contributors, not necessarily key contributors, but contributors nonetheless. And you feel some type of way about that. Okay, I'm not mad at you for feeling some type of way about that. I don't feel as strongly as you do, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, I said this before, I say it again. We don't know how Carson Wentz is going to play for us. We don't know how good he's going to be or how bad he's going to be or if he's going to be indifferent or what the case will be. But this is the thing that I can assure you, and I do know this to be a fact and a truth when it comes to the NFL. If you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a chance. Trading for Carson Wentz at least gives us a chance. It may be a small one, a minute one. It may not be a very good one. It may be a great one for all we know. But at least it gives us a chance. Because with Taylor Heineke or with, Mitchell Trubisky, and we don't know, Mitchell Trubisky might have come in here and lit it up, but, with Andy Dalton or Jacoby Brissett or Tyrod Taylor or any of these stopgaps that were out there that we may have had to pursue, Jimmy G, stinking ass, I don't think that you have a chance with those guys. Carson Wentz, and again, we got to go back in the archives, and I don't like to continue to harp on things that happened, almost half a decade ago. But, Carson Wentz back in 2017 was playing at an MVP-like level. That exists. He did that. That means he's capable of doing it again. Will he? I don't know. All right. But also keep in mind, it wasn't just 2017. He played well in 2018. He also played well, and you could argue some of his best work was done in 2019 when he had nobody. Okay? When he was throwing to J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and Greg Ward Jr. Okay? Some of his best work might have been done in 2019. So, I said all of that to say this. Carson Wentz gives us a chance. And maybe we're being hopeful and wishful, and it's wishful thinking, but he gives us a chance. That's all you can ask for in this league is a chance. So if you are out there and you don't love the move and you don't love the money we spend and you don't love the draft capital, I get it. And I'm not going to try to convince you to not be pissed off about it. All I'm going to tell you is to just give it a chance. That's it. That's all you can do. Give it a chance. You don't have to like it to give it a chance. You don't have to like it to give it a chance. I did not like the fact that we signed Ryan Fitzpatrick last year. You knew how vehemently I was against him coming here. He came here. I did not like it, but I had to give it a chance. He proved me right. Even though he got injured, still doesn't matter. It is what it is. You move on. That's essentially what we're doing here. We're going to give it a run. We're going to give it a chance. If it works, cool. If it doesn't, we move on. This is the price of admission. This is the price to pay, to play, essentially, at the quarterback position. We put ourselves in this position. We didn't have one, so we had to do what we had to do to go get one. And we had to take the ball out of Carson Wentz's court. We couldn't allow him to choose a team because he would not have chosen us. Heard that one before? Because I've said it before. Let's see. Got another super chat here. This one is from Tony P56. Thank you for the super chat, Tony P56. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Tony P, writes, Carson Wentz initials CW are Washington Commanders initials backwards. Uh-oh. We go into some conspiracy theory here. WC. Meaning CW will flip WC's record backwards from 7-10 to 10-7. Stay woke, y'all. There's your conspiracy theory. Yeah, that has nothing to do with nothing, but we take 10-7 in a heartbeat because, again, that'll get you to the playoffs. I don't know if 10-7 will win you the division, but I know 10-7 will probably, in the NFC, with the way it's set up, 10-7 will probably get you to the playoffs. Let's see. Let's see if we got any more. Here we go. John Perez, my guy JP. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy JP writes, sup, Commander Lou? Sup, JP? Says, I'm optimistic about Wentz and the season in general. Go get O.J. Howard, maybe sign Dante Jackson and draft wide receiver or Stingley at 11. I mean, that's a plan. Now, we'll see what they decide to do, but there are going to be options. Not everybody's going to get a ton of money. Not everybody's high on the priority list of the other 31 teams around the league. There will be players that aren't signed after the first week of the new league year, and that's when the real deals come out. The deals come out at night. Whoop, whoop. The deals come out at night. So, hopefully we're able to go get the whistle and blow it. Go get the whistle. Go get the whistle. Go get the whistle and blow it. Toot, toot. In the second week of free agency and go get us a couple of guys and bag them. You know what I mean? But anyway, O.J. Howard is a guy that is on my list. He's on my radar. I've been talking about him for months now, but I'm don't tell nobody about O.J. Howard. Keep that on the hush. Keep that on the low. Because I don't want O.J. Howard to blow and somebody be like, oh, shit, O.J. Howard's available. I hope he's available next week. That's when the prices come down. Everybody's looking to get paid right now. And then there's this reality check that happens after a lot of the money gets spent. And then now you're like, all right, man, look, I need a check coming in. All right. I'll take a 1-year prove it deal. I'm okay with that. So we'll see what happens. Receiver or Stingley at 11 is very doable. I think both will be available at 11. I truly do. So there's a chance that no receiver is taken at pick 11. We get to 11, and there's a chance that no receiver has been drafted yet. Nobody. And there's a chance we get to 11 and only one cornerback has been taken, and that's Sauce Gardner. So there's a chance that Stingley's there. There's a chance that any receiver, your pick of the litter, is there. There's a chance that none of those guys are there, and that 2 receivers are already gone, and 2 or 3 corners are already gone. Anything could happen. I think that the options will be available. They'll be plentiful at 11, and I think there may even be a chance to get out of 11, to be honest with you, because of how many options will be available at 11. We'll see what happens. Tyrone Williams, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Tyrone Williams, who writes, I see Jermaine Johnson and Jamison Davis together. I can tell you Jermaine Johnson is one of my favorite players in this year's draft. And that's, I said, if they took him at 11, I don't even know if he'll be there at 11, but if they took him at 11, I wouldn't even bat an eye. I'd actually be excited about it. So that's how wide open it is for us at 11. We could go in a multitude of different directions. I even saw a mock draft that had us taking a guard at 11. Okay. Assuming we were going to lose Brandon Sheriff, which we did. I saw a mock draft having us taking a guard at 11. I was like, man, if you don't get that shit out of here, but hey, it could happen. So we'll see what happens. All right. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny, writes, what's the linebacker situation like? O-line looking flimsy too. I mean, so essentially they figured out what they want to do at linebacker everywhere except middle linebacker. So they realized that Jamin Davis isn't a middle linebacker. So they figured out what he's good at. They want him off the ball as a weak side linebacker. They love Cole Holcomb on the line of scrimmage as a strong side linebacker. So they've already figured out their two outside backers. Now they're just trying to figure out who's going to man the middle. So, I mean, it's not really a lot to do there. They just got to find the right guy, to be honest with you. O-line is really questionable, but we had so much depth along the offensive line that I think they know they need to add to the depth, but they also aren't shaking in their boots right now. Like they feel confident that they'll be able to add a piece or two to that mix, but that they've got guys right now that could start if need be. If we had a game tomorrow, we could start 5 guys and feel confident about those 5 guys. And I'd feel confident about them, and you would too. Relatively confident. Let's see. Brandon Brantley, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Brandon Brantley, writes, is there any possibility of Julio taking a 1-year deal? Sure, just not here. Absolutely. Julio Jones, he should be, after the year he turned in Tennessee, nobody should be looking to give Julio Jones a 3-year deal. Everybody's looking to sign Julio to a 1-year prove-it deal because he needs to prove he's not washed and that he can stay healthy. That said, Julio Jones wants to win. He's not looking to come to Washington, okay? He's looking to go somewhere like Kansas City. He's looking to go somewhere that's close, that needs just a piece here or a piece there to put him over the top. New Orleans is another place where I think he would, should be interested in going if they could figure out the quarterback position, especially if they get Deshaun Watson. But even if they got Jameis Winston, I think he could flourish in that offense. So, yeah, I can see him taking a 1-year deal, just not here. Let's see. Super chat here from JP's Sports Bar. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. JP's Sports Bar. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, what would Lou do at 11 in the draft? Again, I would have to see what happens in free agency. Once there's a clearer picture of what the roster looks like, anything that we've done, because you could look at it. For me, it's BPA. I've already told you this. So I wouldn't go in to the draft with my mind fixated on 1 or 2 players. I would set my board with about roughly 6 to 7 guys because I know one of them is going to be there. Like, you have to assume, like, in that 6 to 7, Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau, those guys wouldn't be included. You assume they're going to go in the top 5. So you assume that the tackle from NC State or the tackle from Alabama. You assume they're going to be gone. So you don't add those guys into your top seven, right? So by the time you get to the fifth pick in the draft, you've got 7 guys essentially that you say, all right, this is my list of 7 dudes. Love all of them. Don't mind taking any of them. One of those 7 is going to be there when you end up on the clock at 11, and you take that guy. If there are multiple guys, you take your highest graded guy. If they're all equal, you take the guy at the position that you need the most. Or the guy you just have a good feel about the most. But at the end of the day, that's how I would approach 11. I wouldn't just say, hey, we need a receiver. I would go into the draft with my mind open, pretty much saying BPA. And when we got on the clock, if a guy fell into our lap that I didn't expect to be there, I'm taking it. If the draft kind of goes the way we expected, and it's 3 or 4 guys that we really like at this pick, okay, I'm going to take the one I like the most. If the phone rings and somebody wants to come up to 11, and I had a list of 7 guys and 6 of them are still available, and the phone rings, and it's an opportunity to move back 5 picks, guess what? One of those 6 guys is still going to be there 5 picks later. So move back, pick up draft capital. So the opportunities are endless. I wish I had a definitive answer for you, but the truth of the matter is BPA. Best player available or best option available for me. And really, I'm going to change 11 to best option available, because that option could be take a player or trade out of pick. So for me, it's BOP, or best option available. So BOA is what it would be for me. BOA, best option available at 11. All right. Tyrone Williams, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Tyrone Williams writes, Cam ain't never had a real QB or playing time. He probably would be number 1 or number 2 with another team. With Wentz, he'll have his breakout season. I'm not that high on Cam Sims. And that's cool. You can think about Cam Sims in that light. I don't see him that way. Doesn't matter who's throwing him the ball. I vividly remember Cam Sims with 3 or 4 drops in that Tampa Bay playoff game that cost us. The very first pass of the game, big opportunity to make a play down the field, and he dropped it. He hurt us in that game. And he made some catches in that game, but he hurt us in that game. And his hands aren't always A1 official. So I like Cam Sims, like I said. But make no mistake about it, he's nobody's number 1 receiver. I don't care who's throwing him the football. He's nobody's number 1. Could he be a number 2? Maybe with a legitimate offense and a legit quarterback and a dynamic 1. Maybe he could be a number 2. I don't see that either. But I wouldn't discount it. I wouldn't just totally rule that out. But he's nobody's number 1. Anyway, I digress. We'll see if he has that breakout season or not. Alonzo Yarborough, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Alonzo writes, Team Command needs a baller. We have to find some solid players. He says, but we lack players that got that dog. Don't trade back. Keep 11. Find that dog. And generally speaking, that's how I feel. And you got a chance to get a blue chipper. You got a chance to get a guy that's a game changer. You take it. But at the same time, and this is what I've referenced, if you've got 5 guys, 6 guys listed in the same spot as the guy you were going to take at 11, and you don't think that there's a big difference between the guy you were going to select at 11 and trading back to 16, and you still think you're going to get a blue chipper and a guy that is a dog, then you make the trade. But if there's a big drop off between the next 3 players that you got 3 guys on your list that you like, man, if we get to 11 and these 3 guys are here, we're in heaven. Any of the 3 guys. And all 3 of them are there. But somebody calls you and they want you to trade back to 17. That's 6 picks down the road. All 3 of those guys may not be there, and there may be a steep drop off after that in terms of how how you graded these players out and what kind of impact you think they can have. Then you have to kind of ask yourself, is this worth it? We'll see what happens. Straight happy. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Straight Happy. Thank you once again. Who writes, "Hey Lou, my bad for the messed up messages. No need to apologize. It happens." All right. He says, "I'm new at this. LOL. I could tell." It's all good. All right. It's all good. Just trying to see what we're going to do and pick up at number 11 in your opinion. And again, it's hard to say right now because there's still a lot of free agency left, and there are a lot of opportunities for Washington to improve the roster before we get to the draft. So a need that we may be looking at and saying, hey, we need to do this right now, that might not be a need come draft time after we take care of it in free agency. So I've said all along, and my new favorite phrase is going to be BOA. Best option available. So that's what we do at 11. And again, as we get closer to the draft, I may have a more definitive feel and like, hey, look, man, we got to take this guy. Or, or if this guy's not there, this guy. But right now, I'm BOA. I'm even open to trading back at this point. So we'll see what happens. All right. Chill dude, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Chill dude, who writes, "Biggest need, middle linebacker, number 11. Who's there, Lloyd or Dean?" Lloyd will definitely be there. I think both will be there, to be honest with you. I don't see anybody taking Nakobe Dean or Devin Lloyd before 11. I don't even think Devin Lloyd is worth 11. I could be wrong. A guy, has instincts. I talk about speed a lot because I want fast guys on the defense, but the linebacker position is one of those positions. It's really more about your instincts. Yeah, it's nice if you can run, but your instincts are what's going to carry the day at the linebacker position. So you don't have to be the fastest in the world. I talk about, the maniac, Darius Leonard, and that 4.7 40 he ran at the combine, but he was also 234 pounds at that combine. The man's playing at 215. I guarantee you clock Darius Leonard right now, he's probably running a 4.5 something, not a 4.7. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be able to run, man. And so maybe his play speed is faster than his combine time. But Nakobe Dean, I still want to know what he's going to run. He seems like another instinctual player. So we'll see. Definitely linebacker is high up on the list. Do you want to draft a linebacker 2 years in a row is the question you have to ask yourself if you're Washington. But if you identify one of those guys as the guy, you love him, you've interviewed him, you think this guy is exactly what you're looking for at the position, and then you take him. And I got no problems with that if they decide to do that. Let's see. Aaron JCB, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, "Thoughts on Baker Mayfield getting traded possibly? Did we pull the trigger too early for Wentz?" Now, that is a real question, one that I was going to bring up tomorrow, but since you brought it up now, let's talk about it. I, myself, would prefer Baker Mayfield over Wentz. Now, Wentz has, to me, the higher upside, right? Because, again, we had that one season in 2017, and Wentz has a track record of years where he played really well. He played well in 18. He played well in 19. You could argue he played well in 2021. He didn't finish up the season strong, but he played well in the season for the most part. Baker Mayfield still hasn't proven that he is a legitimate NFL starting caliber quarterback yet, which is why the Browns are entertaining the thought of upgrading to Deshaun Watson, which no one blames them for doing that. But at the same time, I think Baker Mayfield is super talented. I think he is a guy that you don't question his leadership skills. You may question some of his methods, but you don't question his leadership ability. I think they would have. I think if the Browns would have made him available, which they haven't, because they haven't gotten Deshaun Watson yet. And if they don't get Watson, they're not trading Baker Mayfield. But if they get Watson, obviously Baker Mayfield becomes expendable. You can't wait if you're Washington, is essentially where you find yourself. You can't wait. You couldn't wait on that whole Deshaun Watson situation to play itself out. So, no, we didn't pull the trigger too soon because you couldn't afford to wait to see how – because Watson can take his time. He has no reason to rush. He can go to Carolina twice for meetings. He can go to New Orleans 3 times for meetings. He can go to Atlanta for a couple of meetings. He can go to Cleveland for a meeting, 2 or 3 times. He doesn't have to rush. He can take his time and make a decision. If you're Washington, you're on the clock. You can't wait because the longer you wait, the less options are available to you. And again, we made it abundantly clear that we were going to come away with the quarterback this offseason. So you had to do what you had to do. It's an interesting question because if Baker Mayfield becomes available, he's going to be a really highly sought after commodity. I guarantee you the Indianapolis Colts are kind of monitoring that situation closely because wherever Watson goes, it's going to force someone else to be available. So if he goes to New Orleans, okay, Jameis Winston is now available because Winston, I think they're waiting on what Watson does to decide on what to do with Jameis Winston. If he goes to Atlanta, Matt Ryan is now available. If he goes to Cleveland, Baker Mayfield is now available. The only place where it doesn't matter is Carolina because nobody wants Sam Darnold, right? But everywhere else, there's a quarterback that becomes available that, another domino falls. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Baker Mayfield. And I did think about that. So that is a good question. Aaron JCB. All right, let's see. Super chat here from Dejan Bell. Thank you for the super chat. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Dejan Bell, who writes, OJ to the Bills, Lou. Buddy Buns. No! Is that true? Let me get my phone. No! And my wife just told me it is definitely true. Oh, my gosh. Well, I kind of figured that would happen. I told you guys the tight end market, it dried up before we even got to free agency with everyone franchise tagging their guy. When the Browns decided to franchise tag David Njoku and the Cowboys decided to franchise tag Dalton Schultz and the I'm forgetting one. And the Dolphins decided to franchise tag Mike Gesicki, and then the Colts decided to lock up Mo Alley Cox before he could get to free agency. Once all of those dominoes fell, I was like, shit, the tight end position is drying up quicker than I thought it would, and that's going to force teams to go out and get OJ Howard. The Bills are really starting to piss me off because every single person that we're interested in or a player from our team, because, these guys, they think alike because they came from Carolina, right? So they like the same type of players, and they're poaching all of our guys from us. They're going after the same free agents. Like, stay off of our shit, man. Get really sick of the damn Buffalo Bills right now. Anyway, damn it. That pisses me off. Jason Rogers. Bills got OJ Howard. FML. Yeah. I'm aware now. That effing sucks. Yikes. Well, it was fun while it lasted. Anyway, I digress. Brandon Brantley. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Wentz or Mayfield if trade was the same? I think I would take Mayfield. I still think we don't know what Mayfield is. He was playing really well before he started to get injured. This is another thing with Mayfield, though. He is a smaller quarterback. We've seen him get injured a ton, especially last year. I like my quarterbacks to have size, which Wentz does. Wentz checks all the boxes off except for in between the ears. Mayfield, I think he checks off all the boxes except for size, which I think a lot of his interceptions come from he's too damn small, So, yeah, I think I would take Mayfield, though. But I can understand anybody that would take Wentz. I get it. And I keep harking back to that 2017 season that Wentz turned in. Mayfield has never even been remotely close to that, but I've seen the best of Baker Mayfield when he's playing at a high level, and I know that's good enough to win you football games and get you to where you want to go. So I would have probably gone after Mayfield, but it is what it is. Wentz has the better measurables and the better tools, but in between the ears, which is really important, I think Mayfield may have the edge there, or does he? I don't know. Who's to say? I would have taken Mayfield myself. Let's see. Dejan Bell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Dejan writes, "Damn, Lou, OJ Howard to the Bills, Buddy Buns." I read that one already. I heard you the first time. I'm pissed off again. Reading it again. Damn. Sucks. Got a super chat here from Rockman1033. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, "Just heard McKissick might change his mind again." I don't think he will, but anything is possible until he signs his name on the dotted line. Anything's possible. Okay. So I don't know if he's going to change his mind or not. I don't think he's going to keep waffling back and forth. If he wanted to leave Washington, he already had an opportunity to do that. He wants to be here in Washington. I think he'll be here in Washington. So I don't think he's going to change his mind, but you don't know until a guy signs on the dotted line. Let's see. Nick Caps, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Nick Caps writes, "I can hear Ron in the near future. There's going to be a competition between Taylor Heineke and Carson Wentz. I like Taylor Heineke. He loves this team. There will be no competition. I assure you, Ron won't be talking that competition shit this offseason. Okay. We may even hear that Heineke is outplaying Carson Wentz in camp. We may hear that. Ron doesn't give a shit. We heard that last offseason. Heineke was outplaying Ryan Fitzpatrick. There was no competition, even though he said there was. There was no competition. It was always Ryan Fitzpatrick as the starter. There is no competition this year. This is more like 2020 when Ron first got here. There was no competition. It was Dwayne's job to lose. This is Carson Wentz's job until otherwise notified. So there's no competition here. I don't give a shit if Taylor Heineke makes Carson Wentz look like a chump in the preseason and in the practices. Carson Wentz is going to be your week 1 starter. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Metaphor writes, "Trade up with Seattle, get Sauce over Jets. Seattle gets Malik." That's the one thing I'm not looking to do is trade up in the draft. Okay, not looking to give up more draft capital. If anything, I'm looking to trade back and pick up more capital, not trade up. So I'm not interested in trading up, especially the draft Sauce Gardner. I'm good. I like him. I don't love him, but I might be in the minority there, and that's fine. If he fell into our lap at 11 and you take him, great. I love it. I'm not looking to trade up for him, though. The only thing I was looking to trade up for in this draft was a quarterback, and obviously we're not looking to do that. So I don't think we're trading up. We may trade back, but up I don't think is something that we should even be considering at this point. Little Baby Angel 8. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, "Hey Lou, just wanted to show some support and say what's up. What's going on? Good to hear from you. And don't be a stranger. All right. Don't be a stranger. Glad to hear from you and looking forward to chopping it up with you in the future." Little Baby Angel 8. Thank you for the support and really, truly do appreciate you. Colton Wheeler. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Colton Wheeler, writes, "Wentz for 22 mil is honestly a solid deal, to be honest. He's worth about 52% of the top 5 highest paid quarterback salaries, but will provide way more than 52% of their production. Window is a little wider." I don't think you're wrong. And look, Wentz at $23 million base salary is a steal for what these quarterbacks are being paid right now. Are you kidding me? That's a steal, which is why the Eagles did the deal when they did it. They wanted to set up this situation where they could be absolutely killing it. If Wentz is killing it right now, still for the Philadelphia Eagles, this deal looks like the deal of the century. Okay. While Aaron Rodgers is set to make $50 million, Dak Prescott's currently making around 40. Carson Wentz is over here making $23 million. Okay. Like, they set this deal up because they thought they were getting out in front of this thing, and this guy was going to be a stud for years to come, and they were going to have a hell of a deal on their hands. It could turn out to be a great deal for us. It could turn out to be a waste of money. We'll see, but I'm definitely not complaining about the money. I know a lot of people are because of what it did to our cap. The only reason people are complaining about the money is because it's flat out $23 million. It's the same shit you would have been dealing with if we traded for Deshaun Watson. The only thing that would have been different is you would have been able to stomach it better because it's Deshaun Watson. You think this guy is a future Hall of Famer. But Deshaun Watson's deal is very palatable. It's a very affordable deal. However, in this first year when you trade for Watson, you got to eat I think it's like 28 or 29 flat out $1 million. So it's kind of similar to Carson Wentz. But I think people would be able to stomach it better and easier because it's Deshaun Watson. They're less likely to stomach it because it's Carson Wentz. But when you sit down and think about it, Wentz for $23 million is peanuts. It's nothing. It really, truly is. Alonzo Yarborough, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Alonzo Yarborough writes, Lou, in the next 3 years, do we go to the playoffs? We seem a little shifty with our decisions. If you're asking me in the next 3 years, do we make it to the playoffs once? My answer is yes, absolutely. If you ask me, are we making it to the playoffs 3 years in a row? Excuse me. My answer is hell no. Okay. So keep in mind, we're a franchise that hasn't had back-to-back winning seasons since 1991 and then 1992. So we're in quite the conundrum, right? That's essentially where we're at. Now, I take that back. I think we actually had 2 winning seasons under Gruden in a row, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was we went 9-7 and then won the division. And then I think we went 8-7-1 the next year. Should have made the playoffs, but we didn't. I think that's what we ultimately did. So don't quote me on that. But this is a team that hasn't made it to the playoffs in back-to-back years. Let's just go with that theory because I know that is true. I think Gruden did go 8-7-1. We missed the playoffs. So that's technically 2 over 500 seasons in 15 and 16. But we haven't made it to the playoffs in back-to-back years since 91 and 92. So to think we would go 3 years in a row, and I don't think that's what you're asking me. I think you're asking me, in the next 3 years, will we make the playoffs once? Yes, I think the answer is yes. Whether Ron's here or not, I think we'll make the playoffs. Don't ask me how. Don't ask me who's going to be our quarterback. Any other. Just every 4 or 5 years, this team makes it to the playoffs at least once. So I think we'll do that in the next 3 years or so. Thank you for the super chat. Alonzo Yarborough. Tyrone Williams. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Tyrone writes, Wentz will be a dog with Ron Rivera. #facts. I hope you're right. I hope you are absolutely, unequivocally spot on. Because if you're right, we got our guy and we're not paying a whole bunch for it. And we're out of the quarterback wilderness for the first time in damn near 40 years since Joe Theismann. So my fingers are crossed, but I know better. I know how this works. And, history says that he more likely than not will be looking for a quarterback again next year. That's what history says. But we'll see what happens. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Metaphor, who writes, Von Miller to the Bills. Really? Super Bowl or bust? Where's that cap? So if you look at the Bills situation, they don't really spend a lot of money, and they released like their right tackle that freed up some cap space. They don't. If you look at their roster, outside of Stephon Diggs, and they just paid Josh Allen, there's not a lot of guys making a ton of big time money on that football team. So they probably got a little bit of capital to play with, and you're seeing that right now. I didn't expect Von Miller to go to the Bills. Like, that wasn't even something that was rumored. And if that's in fact true, Von Miller to the Bills, I might as well look at my phone and see. My wife just told me it is, so I don't need to look. Honestly, just think about it this way. Look at what's happening in the AFC. In order to have a chance, you've got to get past Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Like, it's loaded over there. We've gone through this exercise already. The best path to defeating one of those quarterbacks is to slow that quarterback down and that offense down. You can't just assume we're going to outscore those guys. That's why you see the Chargers trade for Khalil Mack, because that's why you see the Broncos go after and undercut the Dallas Cowboys in pursuit of Randy Gregory, because you got to be able to have not one, but two pass rushers in this league if you want to be dominant on defense. No longer gone are the days of one dominant pass rusher taking your defense and driving it where you want it to go. You got to have tag team partners. Tag team, back again. One on each side. So if one's having an off game, or if one's getting double teamed, the other one's getting singled up, and he can kick some ass on the opposite side. The Bills don't even have one guy that can get after the quarterback consistently. Now they do. And they're hoping that the draft pick they spent on the young fella last year, Gregory Rousseau, he's going to start to come of age. And now you got Von Miller on the opposite side. Maybe they can get something out of their defensive tackles, Ed Oliver, and now Tim Settle and Harrison Phillips and all these guys that they have on the inside. Maybe they'll be able to get more out of these guys now with Von Miller getting out the quarterback. That's the thing that they're missing. You ask me what the Bills are missing. That's what the game's been missing in Buffalo. So it doesn't shock me one bit. But I'd like to see what the parameters of that deal is and how much he ended up signing for. Tyrone Williams. Stand up, Tyrone. You definitely in the building as the newest member of the MOBB. Really appreciate you. Y'all know what to do. Mob members, open arms wide. Embrace Tyrone. Show him that he is loved and now a part of the squad. Welcome aboard, Tyrone. You will not be disappointed. Big Money Sonny. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny writes, how's the fam? Have you watched Batman yet? No, I haven't watched Batman, and the family is doing excellent. I don't know if I'm going to watch the new Batman or not. I've heard it's actually really good. I've also heard it's like 3 hours long. I don't know. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not a big DC guy. I'm a Marvel guy, so I don't really know if I'm going to watch it or not. But I've heard good things about it. So maybe one day I'll have 3 hours to waste and I'll sit down and watch it. But right now it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. All right, so that was the final super chat. I'm going to say this. So we will be live tomorrow night. So a couple of things you can expect from me. I'm going to have a list of free agents that I think make sense for us. Again, OJ Howard is going to be among the top guys on the list. Clearly, he's gone now. So the list is going to be ever-changing. But I will have a list of free agents that I think are viable for Washington that make a ton of sense for us tomorrow. And also, they have to be in the price range. Can't be guys that are going to command tons of money on the free agent market. It's going to have to be guys that are going to be, second tier, pink tag, back of the store clearance items that we're looking to scoop up. So I'll have a list. I will also start to watch the in-season Colts Hard Knocks. I told you guys I was going to watch that. I'm going to try to watch some of those episodes to really get a good feel for Carson Wentz. Also, we're going to break down the Carson Wentz presser. What were your takeaways? How do you feel about him? I know a lot of you are going to be juiced and amped after he talks, because that's what a lot of you do out there. You get so excited when you hear guys talk. You get pumped. You're ready to run through a wall. Pipe down. Okay? It's March, okay? But I am going to be excited to hear what he has to say, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Ron, because we haven't heard from Ron or Martin Mayhew since this deal has been done. So I'm anxious to hear probably from them just as much as I am Carson Wentz. So we'll have a lot of things to talk about tomorrow night. Should be a very interesting show, to say the least. Tyrone Williams with a super chat here. Thank you for the super chat, Tyrone. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, how do I put my profile picture up? You have to go to your YouTube homepage to do that. There you'll find an opportunity for you to put whatever picture you want up in that little box, and that's how you'll get a profile picture. So have at it. Have fun. Be responsible. Anyway, thank you for the super chat, Tyrone Williams. I got another one here from Derek B on the way out. Thank you for the super chat, Derek B. Greatly appreciate you. I think you doubled up. Double up. I think you doubled up. Either way, really appreciate you for being a member of the mob. My guy Derek B writes that 6-1, 11 mil better go right to Terry extension. Look, Terry's not going anywhere. They're going to have plenty enough money. So understand how the cap works. They got to have enough money to sign their draft picks, and they got to have enough money to extend Terry. They're going to have enough for both. Trust me. Okay. They're not going to be negligent. And like I said, they can sign Terry to it. This is the thing that they couldn't do with Carson Wentz. They couldn't have a deal where Wentz was only going to count $2.6 million against the cap. He already had a number, a contract that was already set. So it was already etched in stone. When they do Terry's deal, they can literally have Terry's first year base salary be $1.75 million. And everything else is in incentives and signing bonuses and roster guarantees and bonuses. And so Terry may walk away with, $42 million in year one, but only 1.75 of it is a base, money. So we're fine with the Terry extension. Okay. No worries there. Terry will be here. You guys have nothing to worry about. I assure you of this. Okay. Trust me. Anyway, I digress. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. Look forward to chopping it up with you tomorrow. Again, keep your eyes peeled, ears to the street as far as what's going on, not only with this team, but what's going on around us, especially in the division. And we will come back. We'll break it all down tomorrow on the Command Post Live. Also, we will be live for the Louie T Network podcast tomorrow, as well as we will start to really dive into all of the happenings around the National Football League as the new league year is officially underway. I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, post up and take command. I will see you guys tomorrow. Until then, you guys take care. God bless and good night.